Well, Bobby Denier will lead it off. One of the Philadelphia connection, as they call them over here at Chicago, but that is just about all gone to the wind because these are now full-fledged Cubs, and they have certainly endeared themselves to the hearts of the Chicago Cubs fans.
I sat down with Ballard and Ray Kroc, and we talked about which direction we were going to go, and I took a couple of weeks to work out a plan that I thought, would be a successful plan in the years to come, and that was to try to get above average to above average players at every position, but it was going to take time. And I explained it to Ballard and Ray that, hey, we may end up finishing last for a year or two, but if we start making some strides towards improving this ball club by ridding some of the old worn-out players and bringing some fresh blood into the organization and into the Major League club, I think we had a chance to, win the pennant in 4 or 5 years. And we started to make some trades and bring in some young kids that we had in our farm system and give them an opportunity, find out, upgrade our scouting, upgrade our minor league system, and upgrade mainly our sights on ball players. We were looking for a little bit better ball player than they had previously, and things started to fall in place immediately.
And quickly, McKeon earned his moniker, Trader Jack, as he put his plan to work. Acquired Terry Kennedy in an 11-player trade. Drafted Alan Wiggins from the Dodgers. Drafted Kevin McReynolds in the first round of the 1981 June free agent draft. Drafted Tony Gwynn in the third round of the 1981 June free agent draft. Announced Dick Williams, new manager. Acquired Gary Templeton in a trade for Ozzie Smith. Signed free agent Steve Garvey. The Padres had a new look and a new attitude.
Uh-oh, here we go again.
We're madder than ever.
Guys are beautiful when you're mad.
Their hard-nosed, aggressive play produced back-to-back 500 seasons in 1982 and again in '83. Quietly, the Padres were coming on strong. All that was needed was a stopper in the bullpen. On January the 12th, 1984, Rich Goose Gossage was signed. Hopes were high entering the '84 season.
Hello again, everybody. This is Milo Hamilton welcoming you to Mesa, Arizona, winter home of the Cubs, and the site where the Cubs began preparation for the tough task of pulling themselves up in the standings. With a 71-91 finish the year before, the rebuilding process begun under Dallas Green still appeared to have a long road to travel. Additional trades brought still more new faces into camp. All pieces of a puzzle for the new manager, Jim Fry, who was looking up.
Feels good. We've had a real good session here. We came in about 10 days early with a lot of our pitchers and catchers and position players. We've had excellent weather, and right now I feel real good about things.
And sharing that good feeling, Dallas Green.
We're going to be very competitive, and we're going to move up in the standings, and if we get to that 500 mark, like I said, I think anything can happen.
San Diego lost 21 games last year that were tied in the 7th inning, so manager Dick Williams addressed the problem by acquiring top reliever Goose Gossage, who could make the difference.
There's no moderation in this body at all in anything that I do, and I try and throw the ball every time that I get it as hard as I can, whether it's a slider or a fastball, and every time that I go out there on that mound, I can say this, that I can look myself in the mirror and say that I tried my best.
The teams know now that when they come in to play the Padres that they're going to have to get a lead on us early in order to really stay in the ball game, because if it goes down, if we've got a one-run lead in the 8th and 9th, then here comes the Goose, and he's going to close the door on a lot of teams.
Greg Nettles will be at third, and Alan Wiggins was shifted to second, opening left field for the powerful platoon combo of Bobby Brown and rookie Carmelo Martinez. Tony Gwynn moves to right, and '83 Minor League Player of the Year Kevin McReynolds gets the job in center.
You have to remember, prior to 2 years ago, they were
a last-place club for a number of years. So I think we've made good progress. Jack McKeon has done an outstanding job in acquiring players and developing in the farm system. It's just been a tremendous overhaul.
We have a championship quality team this year. We've got strength in all areas. Very solid team. We've got a lot of good young players that are going into their third and fourth years, which means they're starting to get the maturity and experience that a championship team needs. And we've also got a nice blend of veterans that have been in championship and World Series competition.
Down the coast in San Diego, the Padres hit the ground running and raced off on a winning beat. 4 straight victories before their first loss as they popped out on top in the West. Manager Dick Williams had been seeking a stronger bench, so he got Champ Summers from San Francisco. Summers pinch hit against Chicago with the score tied in the bottom of the 9th, and he delivered the game winner. Rookie Carmelo Martinez got into the swing, hitting .357 over the 4 wins and going 3 for 4 in a game against the Cubs. Newcomer Kevin McReynolds was even better, a .466 average during the win streak. And in one game against Chicago, Big Mac went 3 for 4 with 4 runs batted in.
If we can build a program up with players maybe as young as myself or even a couple of years older, we should have a contending team for, 5 or 6 years at least. If we can get the players in there with the older players, who knows what we can do.
Everybody knows what Goose Gossage can do, and that's save games. He did it twice during San Diego's good start, helping the Padres to feel mighty fine. In Chicago, the crusading Cubs kept looking like superheroes and took 2 heady games from San Diego. Padre reliever Sid Monge walked a man with the score tied in the bottom of the 9th, and manager Dick Williams got his bullpen going. Monge walked another intentionally, and Cub manager Jim Fry saw his team load the bases with 2 outs. The Padres decided to stay with Monge, a decision that pleased Cub fans because Monge fell victim to a mighty close call as he walked home the winning run. The next day, Williams was equally exercised, largely because of Chicago's Ryan Sandberg, who went 2 for 4 in the opener and 3 for 5 in this game. Once again, the score was tied, this time in the 10th. And once again, Williams decided to keep Goose Gossage in the bullpen. Once again, the move backfired as Ron Say faced Craig Lefferts and connected for his first game-winning hit this season. The Cubs took 2 out of 3 from San Diego and continued to contend for first place in the East. In the West, San Diego is stepping out strong, going toe-to-toe with visiting Atlanta. That's it. Tony Gwynn ignited the Padres at the plate, at least 2 hits in every game, a .563 average for the series, and 4 runs scored for 23-year-old Gwynn. And Tony had no trouble keeping his feet on the ground. Stole 3 bases against the Braves to raise his total to 5. Go, Tony, go! New Padre Greg Nettles found his form. After starting the season slowly, Nettles went 3 for 8 against Atlanta and drove in 2 runs. Dave Dravecky has been a demon in relief. He picked up a save, and in 5 straight appearances overall, Dravecky did not allow a run in 12 2/3 innings. Eric Shaw shut down the Braves with 7 strikeouts in 7 innings for a 2-0 start this year. And Goose Gossage is giving the Padres everything they hoped for when they signed him. He collected 2 more saves in the series to lead the league with 5 overall, as San Diego took 3 out of 4 from struggling Atlanta and ran off with the best start in the league at 10-2. In Chicago, the confident Cubs kept hold of a winning hand and stayed on top in the East, causing the fans to flip their lids. Leon Durham was bullish as ever in a sweep of Houston, 6 for 11 in the series, with 2 home runs and 8 RBIs, lifting his average near .330. But all the Cub bats were pointed with power, as Chicago smacked 35 hits and scored 22 runs in the 3 games. Took the opener on a bases-loaded walk in the 9th inning, giving them 8 wins this year on their last turn at bat. Chicago showed thumbs up to their boisterous boosters in Game 2 because the Astros were all thumbs, as a throwing error by pitcher Bill Dawley enabled the winning run to score. General Manager Dallas Green also liked the look of Cub pitching. Rick Russell continued his comeback climb with his first win of the season, and it came just 3 days after Russell turned 35. Rich Bordy got his first Major League victory, allowing just 1 run and striking out 4 in 5 innings. Lee Smith locked up save number 7, and Chicago displayed heart with its best start since 1977. National League flash. San Diego was rocking and rolling over the Western Division leading Padres. Tim Lawler set the pace against Cincinnati, going all the way and striking out 12 for a 5-4 mark. Dave Drefecki was an all-star as a starting pitcher in '83. But this season, he's been an effective force out of the bullpen, winning 3 games and saving 6.
We have 3 short relievers. And if you look at all the other teams in the National League, they really can't say they have 3 short relievers. With Drefecki, myself, and Goose, any one of us can come in at any time. And so if one of us does get a little overworked, there's somebody behind him to pick him up.
The Padres have displayed a mighty smooth beat with their bats as well. 24-year-old Tony Gwynn has been in the swing all season, and he was leading the majors with a batting average above .360.
I'm an inside-out hitter for the most part, and that's just, you know, just throwing my hands through first before the barrel of the bat, and the ball always goes to left field for the most part. And, you know, I've had that stroke ever since, I don't know, Little League.
Greg Nettles rediscovered his big league stroke against the Reds, cracking 3 home runs in 2 games and driving in 7. Steve Garvey was hitting almost 35 points below his career average of 300, but Garvey was contributing big in the RBI department with 35.
As long as the team is in first place, I can put up with maybe being a little deficient in the average area as long as the run production is there.
We're not at the halfway mark. We're just passing the 1/3 mark right now, so there's a long way to go, but I like the character of this club and the chemistry of it.
Character and chemistry, a combo that could carry the Padres a long way this year. In the East, Wrigley Field in Chicago has really been buzzing because tickets to a Cubs game is one of the hottest items in town.
Card lineup program.
You need one to follow this club. First in the league in hits, RBIs, and on-base percentage. Second in home runs and team batting average. The Cubs have been casting a spell all season by getting a big boost from the leadoff spot, where former Philly Bob Dernier boasts a batting average above .315, 29 stolen bases, and 50 runs scored, all among the league leaders.
Unfortunately, I'm back here with a guy I played with in the minor leagues, Ryan Sandberg, and
being a leadoff hitter in front of him is really a joy because he's really adjusted and adapted that second hole really well. And you know, when we're on base, we have the type of hitters in our middle of our lineup that they're going to drive in some runs.
Ryne Sandberg was hitting almost .330. In one game against St. Louis, he went 5 for 6 with 2 homers and 7 runs batted in. Sandberg and Dernier are indeed a potent 1-2 punch.
Bobby gets on quite often, and he's a threat to steal anytime. So as a number 2 hitter, of course, I'm getting a few more pitches to hit, a few more fastballs, and I've been taking advantage of that situation.
Ralph Cinderella, who made a few relief appearances this past September for the Cardinals and actually pitched pretty well on that occasion, makes his first major league start against this lineup. Bob Dernier hitting .313, 26 stolen bases. He's developed into one of the game's best leadoff men. He'll start it for the Cubs, followed by Ryne Sandberg. What a 1-2 punch. 2-2 pitch to Dernier. Line drive, and he's on base again to start the game. Lonnie Smith fields it. Big turn by Dernier, and he settles for a single. And the payoff. Line drive, base hit. Dernier rounds third. Zimmer says, come on home. Here's Lonnie Smith's throw, and he slides in safely. Sandberg takes second. Pitch from Allen to Dernier. Down the third base line and a fair ball, extra bases. 2 runs will score. Hebner winds up at third. It's a double for Dernier, and it's 9-6. Base hit. 1 in. Dernier waved home.
He's gone. Oh, no, cut off.
They get him at second. They do. Van Slyke cut it off and got Sandberg at second, but 2 runs scored. It's 9-8. Suter rolls it to Sandberg. He's made only 3 errors this year, lowest total by any regular second baseman in the National League. And Sandberg throws Suter out. This has been one entertaining ball game, folks. And there's more drama coming up in the last half of the ninth. Into left center field and deep. This is a tie ball game. Cardinal fans, and there are many of them, chanting for Suter. The payoff pitch. He held up and took ball 4.
No. Porter may have thought that he fouled it or it was a strike. Here comes the man again. What a day he's had, Sandberg.
He checked it.
Oh, that's funny. That was very, very close to being a strike, and I wonder if Porter boxing that ball as he didn't lose the pitch for Suter. It was close. They're going to let Dernier steal if he wants it.
His last time up, Sandberg homered to tie it at 9 in the ninth. He's the tying run at the plate now in the 10th.
Dernier should take it if they give it to him to remove the force at second base. Jorgensen at first play behind him saying, you want to steal, your run's no good.
The 1-0 pitch. Got the corner 1-1. Our game today was produced by Ken Edmondson, directed by Bucky Gunts. Mike Weisman is the executive producer of NBC Sports, coordinating producer of baseball, Harry Coyle. 1-1 pitch. He hits it to deep left center. Look out! Do you believe it? It's gone! Matthews takes a ball and move over Willie McGee. There may be a new player of the game. Ryan Sandberg, 5 hits, including 2 home runs.
6 RBI.
Here's Ozzie. He took a bad hop, but that's nothing for him. He throws to Jorgensen.
Wow, what a ball game.
We will go to the 11th, tied at 11. Sandberg, in the Cubs' last at-bat, has twice delivered a game-tying home run, a solo shot of the ninth, a 2-run blast with 2 out of the 10th. Back after this from your local station. That's it. Dave Owen delivers the game-winning hit. Ryan Sandberg and Willie McGee will share our light beer from Miller player of the game. The Cubs, who trailed 7-1, 9-3, trailed 9-8 in the 9th, 11-9 in the 10th. They come back and win it 12-11. Can't remember the last time I saw a better one. Back after these messages from your local station.
National League on a roll. The San Diego Padres have cut loose with the 2nd-best record in the majors and a commanding lead in the West.
Well, everything is at a plus here. We're very optimistic about the blend in our ball club producing a division championship. We certainly don't think there's any club in our division that's better than us, and we're not cocky. We're confident.
We look for certain players in certain situations. And, you know, there's nobody just taking the lead role as being the leader. It's just more or less lead by example, which is probably the best way you can do it.
Ed Whitson has set a fine example on the mound with 12 wins already this year, one more than his career high for an entire season. Tim Lawler tossed a 2-hit shutout and struck out 7 for win number 8, as the Padres took 3 out of 4 from Houston. San Diego's also well-armed at the plate. Tony Gwynn was batting .365 to top the majors. He had 15 hits in 7 games. And against Houston, he batted almost .440.
When I get in a streak like that, I really can't explain it. I just go up there, see the ball, and hit the ball. And the times when I get in trouble is when I'm thinking a little bit, you know, is he going to throw me a curve? Is he going to throw a slider? Is it going to be a fastball in or out? And the times where I've been successful, I've just gone up there like a blank and just go up there, look for the ball, and when you see it, hit it.
Steve Garvey saw it, and he hit it out of the park against the Astros for home run number 6 and RBI number 57. Overall in the series, Garvey batted an even .400. Gary Templeton had just 2 hits against Houston, but one was his first career grand slam. In 14 games, the Padres won 11, including 4 straight shutouts, and set their sights on their first division title ever.
I think we finally realized, maybe beginning of the season, and maybe the All-Star break when we had a lead and we were playing good, that everybody says, hey, we got a good team. I mean, if you look at this team in spring training, we did not have a good team.
But there can be no mistaking the fact the Chicago Cubs now are indeed a very good team. 2 trades this season turned them around. Now, trading is an awful lot like a flip of a coin. Heads you win, but tails you lose. Well, it was heads back in March and heads again in June.
General Manager Dallas Green realized back in spring training the Cubs needed defensive help in the outfield. So where else to turn but to his old club, the Phillies. Green shipped off reliever Bill Campbell and welcomed Gary Matthews and Bob Dernier, 2 good gloves and bats. The Cubs now nearly bursting at the seams with ex-Phillies.
We got a lot of guys who have been through a pennant race, people who are experienced, veterans who have played on real good clubs, so I think that helps.
We don't really count on one particular guy in our lineup in order to make us win.
Matthews started slowly but is now closing in on a .300 season. Dernier, the perfect leadoff man, was on a tear early. He's tapered off at .290. Now trade number 2, and it's a dandy. Middle of June, 2 Chicago frontline pitchers on the disabled list. Dallas Green goes to work again. picks up Rick Sutcliffe from the Indians for 2 promising outfielders. With a month to go, Sutcliffe has reeled off 11 straight victories. He wanted out of Cleveland, and despite a 4-5 record there, Dallas Green saw a winner. The bearded redhead, though.
When I was with Cleveland and I was trying to get out, I demanded to be traded. And the first club I eliminated that I was going to go to was the Chicago Cubs. I was allowed to eliminate 6, and they were the first one. I said I didn't want to go there. So basically that shows you where they come from.
Where the Cubs have come from is the cellar. Perennial losers to the toast of the town, all in 2.5 seasons under Dallas Green, and the Cubs have done it through the trades.
I stepped into a ball club that had a 5-game lead. I left the ball club that was 25 games out. I picked up 30 games in one night.
With a roster of 25, only 4 are of the homegrown variety.
Now, in the National League East, more breathing room for the Chicago Cubs. They won, shut out Atlanta yesterday 3-0. The Mets lost the doubleheader, so the Cubs lead now in the National League East is 5.5 over the Mets, 6 over the Phillies. One of the big reasons for the Cubs' success, this man, acquisition on June 13th of Rick Sutcliffe. Here, he nails down yesterday's 5-hitter against Atlanta. He was 4-5 with Cleveland, now 12-1 with Chicago. I spoke with Sutcliffe a short time ago. Rick, how do you explain the fact that you were struggling with Cleveland? Here you come to the Cubs, and presto, you're a huge success?
Well, it's something that you really don't like to look back at because it can change on you just like that. I felt like I kind of got off to a decent start in Cleveland, but I came down with some physical problems. I had a root canal that went bad on me, and I lost close to 20 pounds, but that's just an excuse. I just wasn't throwing the ball very well over there, and I don't know whether it was a pennant drive or what happened, but all of a sudden I've become a different pitcher over here.
And what a storybook situation. You are a free agent after this remarkable season. Will you stay with the Cubs, Rick?
Well, really, I don't know what's going to happen as far as that situation is concerned. As we talked about earlier, the way I was throwing in Cleveland, not really anybody wanted me. So, you know, it's something that I haven't put a lot of thought into. The ultimate goal for me right now and everybody on in the Cub organization is to get in the playoffs. And, you know, I really try not to think about it any more than I have to. We've started negotiations, but as of right now, nothing's really happened. We just kind of got acquainted. And I'll kind of, you know, if we win this whole thing, that'll kind of take care of itself.
But, Rick, I read one report that said you could become the highest-paid pitcher in the history of the game. You, Rick Sutcliffe.
I don't know anything about that. You don't know what you're worth right now. I've never won 10 games in a row before in my life. I've never been in a situation like this. So ideally what I'd like to do is just finish the season out, and then at the end of the year kind of look back and reevaluate things and just kind of, you know, let things settle down a little bit and realize where we're at.
All right, Rick, thanks for talking with us, and best of luck here on out.
Thank you, Len.
Here it is. There goes a runner. Hey, a line drive off the pitcher's glove is over.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win! Cub fans came from all over to take part in an Eastern Division clinching party in Pittsburgh. It was only fitting that Rick Sutcliffe lock it up. Win number 14 in a row for an incredible Cub mark of 16-1. With 4 wins for Cleveland earlier in the year, Sutcliffe became only the 4th man in history to win 20 games in a season while pitching in both leagues. In the first inning, Gary Matthews wrapped out what proved to be the game winner, number 19 for him to lead the league. And in Chicago, the party was already underway.
Hey, holy mackerel, no doubt about it. The Cubs are on their way.
On their way indeed. And with the last out, the Cinderella Cubs broke their spell as the only team that hadn't won the East since division play began in 1969. The Windy City went wild because the Cubs will enter postseason play for the first time since 1945, longest drought in the majors. Back in Pittsburgh, the scene in Chicago's locker room had to be a heartwarming sight for any baseball fan who ever rooted for an underdog.
Unbelievable. This is what it's all about, is winning, and, you know, this is what we've been shooting for all year.
We came together as a ball club. We gelled. Congratulations to the city of Chicago, all the Cub fans across the country.
Now it's ours, and we're number 1, and
let's go get the Padres.
Cub Busters, hey, we did it. We did it this year. The most important thing is for us to get past San Diego, get into the World Series, and then beat whoever shows up there. That's the only thing that matters to me right now.
Ah, yes. Good things come to those who wait and win. Cub fans have been waiting for a long while, and this year the team drew more than 2 million for the first time. Fans who just loved watching the wheels go round.
People say I'm crazy, doing what I'm doing. Well, they give me all kinds of warnings to save me from ruin. Well, they shake their heads and they look at me as if I've lost my mind. I tell them there's no hurry, I'm just sitting here doing time. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll. No longer riding on the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go. I just had to let it go. I just had to let it go. It could
In the West, San Diego rode off of the crown by smoking the division all season long. In the clincher against San Francisco, pitcher Tim Lawler helped himself win number 11 with a 3-run homer. And that was his 3rd home run this season and 8th of his career. Dave Dravecky came on to collect save number 8. And when second-place Houston lost to Los Angeles later that night, the Padres had captured their first division title in the team's 16-year history.
We had a lot of fun waiting and hoping this thing was going to happen, but to actually see, you know, the first division championship come to the San Diego Padres, historic first, no question about it, that's got to be the key.
As for the Cubs, San Diego was the only team that hadn't won its division, and nothing feels like the first time.
I have waited a lifetime, spend my time so foolishly, but now that I found you, together we'll make history. I know I can't help myself, you're all in the world to me. It feels like the first time, feels like the very first time. It feels like the first time, it feels like the very first time.
How's the lineup? How's the program structured?
Do they still play the blues in Chicago when baseball season rolls around? When the snow melts away, do the Cubbies still play in their ivy-covered burial ground?
Let me tell you something about the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs, when the National League was formed in 1876, the Chicago Cubs were one of the originals. They are the only team in the National League which has been in the league ever since then, continuously, no interruptions and no moves. The Cubs played their first game in April of 1876, 60 days before Custer's last stand. The last time the Chicago Cubs were in a World Series was 1945. That was when they played 7 games with the Detroit Tigers. A very interesting series, a wartime ball club on both sides of the field, but still a World Series nevertheless. If you recall, they lost to the Detroit Tigers in that series. I remember Warren Brown, one of the great writers around here, was asked who he thought would win that World Series. He said, I don't think either team can. I've often been asked, what is the reason for the Cubs' failures these many years? What is that story? And I can't help but think that 1945 was, in a sense of the word, partially responsible for it. Since that time, we have had in the experiences of the Chicago Cubs an astonishing, remarkable series of years marked by bad luck in some cases, poor judgment in others, and they all add up to nothing.
Here's the pitch. He bunts. He only played first base.
When I was a boy, they were my pride and joy, but now they only bring fatigue to the home of the brave, the land of the free, and the doormat of the National League.
I think the best line I've run into the last year or so was, a fellow said, if my colonel told me I had to take that pill box no matter what the cost in life and limb, I'd ask if I could take 5 Cub fans with me, because from the day they're born, they know pain, suffering, danger, misery. Being a Cub fan is kind of a way of life. It's handed down from father to son, mother to daughter, grandpa to grandson, and so forth and so on. I think there might be cases where people have been written out of the world because they stopped being Cub fans.
We got down here at 4 o'clock this morning to sit in the bleachers. Been a Cub fan, I'm almost 40, for 35 years.
They seem to pull together as a team. They just never give up, and that's what we like. I'll stick by them losing or winning, but I love when they're winning. It's great.
There's a drag in the left field. That's gonna score. Maybe 2.
Dallas Green has done one of the most remarkable front office jobs I think I've ever seen in all of my years in baseball. I would say that the key to this ball club this year has been balance and bench strength, and the very wise handling of all of this by that manager, Jim Fry.
He struck him out.
After all these years of famine and disappointment and drought, losing, it's time to win. That's what that one's all about, and that's what it means to me and to every Cub fan in this town.
And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Wrigley Field in Chicago. I'm Don Drysdale, and happy that you've joined us this afternoon. The first game of the National League Championship Series. This will be the best 3 out of 5, the San Diego Padres and the Chicago Cubs. And, of course, tonight, right here on ABC, from Royal Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, it will be the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals. But here, when you look at Chicagoland, you're looking at really Chicago mania, Chicago fever, whatever you might have. And, of course, there are so many Cub fans that have just come out of the woodwork because it has been back in 1945 that was the last time that the Chicago Cubs were ever in postseason play. They are here now, a win factor possibly here this afternoon. It is blowing out, and at that time, Wrigley Field is not big enough. Everything perfect, but right now there is just a very gray cloud over Major League Baseball because today we have a Major League umpire strike due to postseason play payoff, and of course, right now, they are not here. We have amateur umpires working today here at Wrigley Field. We'll have more on that as the game progresses. Right now, let's go to the PA announcer, Walt Jacobs, and meet the San Diego Padres and the Chicago Cubs.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, presenting the starting lineup
for the Western Division champion San Diego Padres. First, the manager, number 23, Dick Williams. Leading off and playing second base, number 2, Alan Wiggins. Batting second and playing right field, number 19, Tony Gwynn. Playing first base and batting third, number 6, Steve Garvey. Hitting in the cleanup position, number 9, the third baseman, Greg Nettles. Hitting fifth and doing the catching, number 16, Terry Kennedy. Batting sixth and playing center field, number 18, Kevin McReynolds. Playing left field and hitting seventh in the order is number 14, Carmelo Martinez. Batting eighth is the shortstop, number 1, Gary Templeton. And batting ninth, today's starting pitcher, number 30, Eric Shaw. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the 1984 National League Eastern Division champions, the Chicago Cubs. The manager, number 8, Jim Fry. Today's starting lineup, leading off and playing center field, number 20, Bob Dernier. Batting second and playing second base, number 23, Ryan Sandberg. Hitting third and playing left field, number 36, Gary Matthews. In the cleanup spot and playing first base, number 10, Leon Durham. Batting fifth and playing right field, number 6, Keith Moreland. Playing third base and hitting sixth, number 11, Ron Say. Batting seventh, the catcher, number 7, Jody Davis. Batting eighth, the shortstop, number 1, Larry Bowa. And today's starting pitcher, warming up in the bullpen, number 40, Rick Sutcliffe.
A great crowd here at Wrigley Field. The pregame festivities continue, and we'll be right back after this commercial timeout. Game number 1, the Padres and the Chicago Cubs. And working with me during this championship series, my 2 colleagues, 2 men that have been through this many times in their life, Earl Weaver and Reggie Jackson. And Earl, we'll start with you. The Chicago Cubs and Jimmy Fry. They had a tough start in the spring, but all of a sudden, here they are.
Well, for Jim Fry, it's a dream come true, and it's more or less a Cinderella story for the Chicago Cubs. At one time in spring training this year, the Cubs lost 11 straight games, and late in the grapefruit season, they had a record of 318. Jim Fry and Dallas Green, the general manager, got together and said, what can we do? Well, what they did was improve their outfield defense. Dallas Green got Bob Lanier and Gary Matthews from the Philadelphia Phillies. It didn't only help their defense, but helped them offensively. They needed pitching. They got Tim Stoddard during spring training, middle reliever, 10 and 6. And then the starting pitchers, 2 veterans, Dennis Eckersley from the Boston Red Sox, and now the starting pitcher today, Rick Sutcliffe. They couldn't have done a better job of putting the puzzle together. And what the Cubs did after midseason was play good, sound, fundamental baseball. They're not an outstanding defensive club, but they get the job done. They make the plays when they have to, and they get the hits when they have to, Don.
And Reggie, on the other side, a man you played for in the championship years at Oakland A's, Dick Williams, and those Padres can be tough.
Yes, they can. Dick Williams believes in toughness, let me tell you. When he came over to Oakland, the thing that he wanted to stress was speed, a good fundamental approach, and mental toughness. That's what we have on this ball club. He has speed at the top of the order, and Mr. Alan Wiggins with 70 stolen bases, and Tony Gwynn with 33 stolen bases. He believes in professionalism, and along with that, in order to help him instill that thought, he's got Steve Garvey, Rich Gutz, and a man by the name of Greg Nettles to really give a lot of good comfortableness to this particular ball club. Talking about being able to be tough, they had a bean brawl down in Atlanta a couple of months ago, and it shows you how they stuck in on that one. They won the division by 12 games without a man that hit more than 20 home runs, without one to drive in more than 86 runs, and without a 20-game winner. Also an advantage of this club is I think they played in Southern California. They did not get a lot of attention. They did not play under a lot of pressure. The Cubs, in the meanwhile, played in front of the spotlight all year long because they play in front of a television station that everybody can see. Watch out for this ball club. They're tough, they're professionals, and they want to win and know how to.
It ought to be a great series. I mentioned before, just one gray cloud. The umpires have gone on strike. Amateur umpires here this afternoon. Earl, I've got to ask you a question of you. Can it affect the series?
It definitely can affect the series. It's not like having major league umpires out there. There will be plays missed because major league umpires miss plays. But if the amateur umpires miss any plays, there'll be big controversy.
And that's the manager's viewpoint, the player's viewpoint, Reggie.
I think it's very unfortunate, Don. I think that the professional people should be here. I think the players have played that way. They expect it. I think they deserve it. And I think it's almost unfair to have this quality of baseball and not have top-quality professional big league umpires here as well.
Well, there you have it. From a player and a manager's standpoint, we'll have more on the umpire situation as we go along. The pregame festivities continue, and we'll be back in a minute. ABC Sports presents the National League Championship Series from Wrigley Field in Chicago, Illinois. The Western Division champion San Diego Padres take on the Eastern Division champion Chicago Cubs. The Cubs clinched their first ever title in divisional play on September 24th. Now from the bars of Rush Street to the posh high rises of the lakefront, Chicago readies itself for postseason play for the first time in 39 years. 1969 was the last year Cubs fans had playoff hopes. It was also the first year for a new franchise, the San Diego Padres. Now, 16 years later, the Padres have come of age during the competition and winning the division by 12 games.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the colors are being presented on the field by the Great Lakes Naval Training Station Color Guard. At this time, we ask that you please rise and join in the singing of our national anthem as sung by the popular recording star, Jimmy Buffett.
This is for Steve Goodman. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail as the twilight flash gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting air, gave proof through
Jimmy Buffett, of course, dedicated to Steve Goodman, a songwriter here in Chicago who passed away just prior to the club's clinching of the '84 Eastern Division Championship. And right now, let's go back to the PA announcer, Walt Jacobs.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we direct your attention to the pitcher's mound. Here today to throw out the ceremonial first pitch is a gentleman who has waited his entire Major League career for this moment. Recently named as an honorary member of the 1984 Chicago Cubs, the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Cubs, Ernie Banks.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I never saw him throw a ball like that. Well, we'll be right back with the first game of the National League Championship Series, the Cubs and the Padres, right after this word.
Game 1 of the National League Championship Series is being brought to you by Chevrolet. Drive today, Chevy. Live today, Chevy. By Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Life. It doesn't get any better than this. By Gillette, makers of Foamy. If you want a clean, close shave, it's more than thick and rich enough. And by Prestone 2 Antifreeze. America goes with Presto.
So we told you about the amateur umpires working the playoffs here at Wrigley Field and at Kansas City. Right now, our other colleague down on the field is Tim McCarver. He's with the National League president, Chuck Feeney, to fill us in on the umpire situation. Timmy?
All right, Don Drysdale. Chubb, why are the National League and American League umpires on strike?
Well, actually, it's a question of League Championship Series and World Series money. We've offered them a 20% raise from 10 to 12 for each working umpire in the LCS and from 15 to 17.5 for each working umpire in the World Series. However, they want a large pool of money to pay the guys that don't show up to work, and we feel that's wrong.
Any chance of it being settled before the playoffs are over?
I sure hope so. We're ready to talk to Richie Phillips anytime he gets in touch with us.
We also have with us Peter Uberoff, the new commissioner of baseball, and in your second day in the job, the umpires have to go out on strike. Rather unusual, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's not a great greeting, I have to tell you, but it's a great game, it's a great crowd, and that's what baseball's all about, and I hope it works out. The president of the National League and the American League have been working on this problem for 3 months with the umpires. I'm not going to, it's their deal. There's no way that somebody can jump in the last minute and try and tell people what to do. The issue is the umpires who don't work the games also being paid, and they have to work that out.
The new commissioner of baseball, Peter Uberoff, and the president of the National League, Chuck Feeney. Thank you very much. Enjoy the ball game. Now let's go back to the booth to Don Drysdale.
Thank you very much, Timmy. And Alan Wiggins steps in, ready to lead it off. It'll be Wiggins, Gwynn, and Garvey. Rick Sutcliffe, the big right-hander, on the mound for the Chicago Cubs. A capacity crowd, a beautiful afternoon. The breeze is blowing out, so pull up a chair, strap yourself in, and hold on.
And the breeze will be a factor in this game, Don. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yes, sir. Here we go. The first pitch, and that's a little bit low. So the count 1-0. The home plate umpire will be Dick Cavanaugh. He's 51 years of age from Deerfield, Illinois. At first base will be Dave Slickenmeyer. He's a 41-year-older from Des Plaines, Illinois. And at second base will be Joe Pomponi, 48, from Northbrook, Illinois. And at third base will be Joe Maher, 44, of Arlington Heights. There's a looper foul left side. And the count very quickly goes even to Wiggins at 1-1. On the year, he hit .258. As you look at the umpires I just mentioned, Cavanaugh, Slickenmeyer, Pomponi, and Maher.
And I'm anxious to see if Rick Sutcliffe will stay with the pitching pattern he used all year, not being afraid to throw the curveball 3-1 and 2 balls and no strikes.
a little bit low. Now, one of the keys, as you look at Sutcliffe, look over Reggie Jackson. Take the cap off. You can see it's going to be trying to get used to the strike zone of these umpires.
Well, certain umpires have different strike zone. Everyone knows that the National League umpires have a different strike zone than the American League umpires, and we'll see what's going to happen with the amateurs.
There's a line drive center field. Dernier right there makes the catch, and there's one away.
Ball hit well.
There's your Cub defense of Durham at first, Sandberg at second, Bowe at short, Say at third, Matthews in left, Dernier in center, Moreland in right, in the battery of Jody Davis and right-hander Rick Sutcliffe, who was 16-1 with these Cubs. Overall, he was 20-6 on the year.
I think the strike zone factor is going to be very important. As you see Tony Gwynn step in here, we saw just after that out was made, Rick Sutcliffe was talking to the home plate umpire just to try to get something together. We'll see how long it takes him to settle down and find out where that strike zone is going to be.
Well, now most of these umpires, as Tony Gwynn stands in, have worked the Big Ten Conference.
Well, I'll tell you, even with a Major League umpire, a lot of times the pitcher has to adjust. If the high ball umpire, you got to go up. If it's a low ball umpire, you've got to go down. Because if you keep throwing the ball up and he calls it a ball, you're just going to put people on base.
And very quickly, it is 0-2 to Tony Gwynn, the National League batting champion at .351. 5 home runs, 71 RBI.
And Sutcliffe showing excellent control within the strike zone. First pitch out, the next pitch in.
The infield straightaway, Dernier slightly in left center. They swing the outfield to the left for Gwynn. He will use the entire ballpark. Out of play left side. The home plate umpire, Dick Cavanaugh, he's been on the Chicago umpire reserve list for emergencies just as this since 1976. He has worked several games in both Wrigley Field and at Comiskey Park in 1979. The first base umpire, Dave Slickenmeyer. He currently works for the Big Ten. He works in other college games. He has also worked for the Cubs and the Sox in 1979. In 1979, same for the second base umpire, Joe Pomponi, and also for Joe Mayer over at third base. So they have seen Major League action. Line drive to Sandberg. 2 gone. Well, both balls hit on the button.
So far, things are going right for the Chicago Cubs. I was just going to say that a line drive to center field and a line drive to second base, but there's 2 outs and nobody on.
Here is Steve Garvey. Garvey's .284 on the year. Steve had 8 home runs, 86 RBIs.
Take a look right now. I know for a hitter, I would be checking the flag every inning, Don, and I see right now, to me, in the last half hour, the wind is blowing as strong as it's blown since we've been here for the last 3-4 hours.
It is blowing right straight out. Garvey does not get the breaking pitch, and Garvey has that in his book. Here's the flag as you look at them blowing straight away center field. Just a beautiful afternoon here in Chicagoland. Capacity crowd for the first game of the National League Series, high and away.
With that wind, you might think that this would be one of them 11-8 ball games, but with these 2 pitchers on the mound, it's going to be just a little bit tougher to score that many runs.
Well, Earl, this is the epitome, and I'm sure you've said it so many times in the clubhouse to the starting pitcher, keep the ball down. Garvey doesn't get a fastball and a good one. 1-2 the count.
Sutcliffe staying to the pattern that he used all year, most of the time throwing fastballs when he's ahead and a breaking ball when he gets behind to the hitter.
Allen looking at the second pitch over the outside corner. Garvey's not happy. So the Padres are gone in the first inning, 3 up, 3 down. We go to the Cubs half, no score. Now Eric Shaw taking his warm-up tosses as you look at the Padre defensive. Garvey at first, Wiggins at second, Templeton at short, and Nettles at third. The outfield from left to right, Martinez in left, McReynolds in center, and Gwynn in right. And the battery of Terry Kennedy and right-hander Eric Shaw, a 15-game winner on the year against 9 defeats. You see the 3.40 ERA. He was the opening day pitcher for manager Dick Williams and the Padres. 6-1 lifetime against the Chicago Cubs, and 2-1 in 1984.
I think that's a very important factor, Don. There are some pitchers that pitch well against certain hitters, and some hitters that just happen to hit certain pitchers. I think Earl Weaver, our partner up here in the booth, was a man that brought that to the attention of baseball several years ago when he started playing hitters against certain pitchers.
It certainly works for me, and I'll tell you, it gives a manager a big edge. Of course, we got 2 set ball clubs here. The managers are going to start with the people that brought them to the playoffs. In my situation, I had some platoon players, some role players that came through for me.
Well, Bobby Denier will lead it off. One of the Philadelphia connection, as they call them over here at Chicago, but that is just about all gone to the wind because these are now full-fledged Cubs, and they have certainly endeared themselves to the hearts of the Chicago Cub fans.
Well, Eric Shaw, according to scouting reports, has a better-than-average fastball. The slider's his best pitch. Tries to throw a slow curveball, sometimes struggles with that, trying to make it a strike. He's got a screwball type of change.
We have already seen home plate umpire Dick Cavanaugh start to come up with that right hand about 3 times and not call it. Right there, he started up as Kennedy turned around and said something. As Denier sends it deep left field. Going back and looking up is Martinez. It's gone. Cubs lead 1-0.
Here's Shaw, throws a fastball. He's already behind in the count 1-0, and he comes in with a fastball up and out over the plate. And in this ballpark, when the wind is blowing out, you can see your left fielder doesn't even go back on the ball. It is no doubt.
Denier not known for his power, but he caught that high fastball good.
Here's Ryan Sandberg as he takes the breaking pitch for the strike, and you've got to think it all goes back to the very first pitch. Xiao and Kennedy thought they had the breaking pitch over. Kennedy wasn't going to fall behind. He came with a fastball, and Xiao got it up. Now takes the off-speed curve.
There's that slow curveball that I was talking about. The scouting report says he has trouble throwing that for a strike. But Sandberg chased it.
Ryan, what a year he had. 314, 19 home runs, and 84 RBIs. Watched by Kennedy 1 and 2.
I think that goes to show you what type of ballpark that is and what the pitchers are going to have to pay attention to here is the fact that a man like Bob Denier, who does not have a lot of power, hits the ball way out of the ballpark here today.
He only hit 3 home runs during the regular season, and Sandberg cannot get the breaking pitch. Here's a new innovation for baseball. ABC Super Slow-Mo. You saw it in the Olympics. Look at it again.
We can certainly see how high it is, and you can see the rotation of the ball. I wish that I could have seen the ball like that when I was batting. I might have been able to hit a home run or 2.
Here's Jerry Matthews as he does not get the fastball. There's Mrs. Bob Denier, Vicky Denier. Boy, she's got to be happy. The breaking pitch blown away. Well, that super slow-mo is, and we're going to be able to have that opportunity to show you that during the playoffs. You'll actually see the rotation of the stitches on the ball and watch, well, just watch good eye what the hitter would see. That's exactly why I quit, Earl. My ball got that big.
Here's what's happened right here, Donnie. Eric Shaw.
There, the right arm started up again. So that's about the 5th time. I think we're going to have to start keeping a track here, Jerry Klein, our researcher, of how many times that right arm starts to go up and goes back down.
Well, the umpire certainly fooled me a time or 2.
Inside, and all of a sudden, Xiao falls behind 3-1.
Again, right here, he's going to have to be careful here, Donnie, because he's had problems in the first inning giving up home runs. He's already given up 1.
The Sarge, as they call. There's a drive left field. Matthews going back at Martinez. That ball is gone. 2-0 Cubs on home runs by Denier and Matthews.
Well, he's got to be careful, as I said, Donnie. You get that ball up out over the plate, 3 balls and 1 strike, and you have a guy that can drive the ball out of the ballpark like Gary Matthews. He's already seen Bob Denier hit a ball completely over the screen. He can sit back. He knows the pitcher has to come to him. He's riding high in the first inning. They've got a lot of emotion here, and bingo, it's 2-0. There's the pitch. And Mr. Matthews, with 19 game-winning hits this year, is on a roll.
I don't think that pitch was up that high, Reggie. We get it one more time here. We get to see it a little bit below the belt, but up above the knees. But a good pitch for Matthews to hit.
As Leon Durham takes the strike, Durham a .279 hitter, 23 home runs, 96 RBIs, an excellent low ball hitter. There he comes up again.
Cubbies doing their thing in Wrigley Field right now. We might see a few of those before the day's over.
Yes, sir. This is just inning number 1. At 5, and the count goes to 2-1.
And I'm talking about from both sides.
Yes, sir.
San Diego and Chicago.
The Padres hit 109 home runs on the year. The Cubs hit 136. High to the right side. Wiggins calling. He will battle the sun a little. Side saddles and makes the catch. 2 gone.
We're going to get that pitch again. This was the home run to Matthews. Look at the stitching. You can see the seams going over the top. It's a fastball. Matthews knew it. He's looking 3-1. We'll get a look at Chow here. Oh, my goodness. There it goes. He knew it was gone.
Well, very quickly, there are 2 gone and 2 run in. 2 runs in as Moreland steps in, hitting .279, 16 home runs, 80 RBIs. Takes the strike 0-1. 2-0, the Cubs on top in the bottom half of the first inning.
On the home run, if the wind were blowing in, Chow might have rooted for that ball to come back, but he knew it was gone.
Pops him up. There's the shortstop, Gary Templeton. Makes the catch and the side retired. But the Cubs then listen to the fans. 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 home runs by Dernier and Matthews. No errors, nobody left on base. After the first inning of play, it's the Cubs 2 and the Padres nothing. As Kennedy turned around and said something, as Dernier sends it deep left field. Going back and looking up is Martinez. It's gone. Cubs lead 1-0. The Sarge, as they call. There's a drive left field. Matthews going back at Martinez. This ball is gone. 2-0 Cubs on home runs by Dernier and Matthews. Chicago Cubs on the board. Let's go down to Tim McCarver and Bob's wife, Vicki Dernier.
Rather emotional moment for you, Vicki?
Oh, I'm so excited. Got my makeup running down my face from crying.
You weren't crying, were you?
20 home runs. You know, I was in shock maybe a little bit.
Vicki Dernier. Now let's go back to the booth to Don Drysdale. Donald.
Okay, Timmy, thank you very much. Thank you, Vicki. It'll be Greg Nettles to lead it off, hitting .228 on the year. Greg had 20 home runs, 65 RBIs. He'll be followed by Kennedy and McReynolds. So the Cubs jump off to a 2-0 lead on first inning home runs by Dernier and Gary Matthews. And the Padres right now in a position to try and catch up.
Here is a guy that the wind will definitely favor because he is a definite fly ball hitter, Don.
Well, you played many a game with this man, and we've said it before. It doesn't make any difference if you hit from the right side or the left side. When the wind's blowing out, you can reach any part of this ballpark. 1 ball and no strikes to Reynolds. Right side and foul to Greg.
Sutcliffe saw those 2 balls jump out of the park, and he has to have those thoughts in his mind when he walks out to the mound.
Jimmy Fry watching the goings-on from that Cub dugout on the third base side. What a job he's done. Boy, you just can't say enough for that man.
Well, we said in the pregame show he knew the pieces he needed, and Dallas Green went out and got them for him, and then he put it all together.
Breaking pitch down and in.
That is one of the toughest pitches for a left-handed hitter to swing at, Don, to maintain control of the strike zone as a hitter. That hard slider down and in, and Sutcliffe uses it to his advantage, especially against left-hand hitters.
Got him on the breaking pitch. Terry Kennedy coming on, and prior to the game, I had a chance to talk to the San Diego Padres catcher, Terry Kennedy. We'll bring you that little interview as we move along throughout the course of the game. A little technical problem, but Kennedy standing in, hitting .240 with 14 home runs and 57 RBIs. Kennedy has not had the kind of year average-wise that he would like. There's a line drive one. Hopper Stenberg with a backhand and over to Durham. You're gone.
So easy. Now there's a major league ball player. The ball's hit hard. He's going to time it, make sure he sees it, gets himself set, throws to first base. There's so many amateur second basemen that would try to get in front of that ball, and the play is just impossible to make that way. He knew he had it on one hop, got himself set, and a good throw to first base. That's why he only made 6 errors the whole year.
You know, Earl, he made 6 errors, and they said he made 4 of those errors in 2 games. That means only 2 errors in 159 games.
Here's Kevin McReynolds. The center fielder takes a strike, and the count is 0-1.
And Sutcliffe continues to hit good spots.
There's a 91 on that fastball. McReynolds hit .278 on the year with 20 home runs, 75 RBIs. Very quickly 0-2 as Sutcliffe has retired the first 5 that he has faced, striking out 2. Looked very calm, cool, and collected out there on the mound. It looks like he has a thought of worry in the world. Got him looking. Strikeout number 3. Struck out 3 of the 6. We're through 1.5, and the Cubs lead the Padres by a score of 2-0. Ron Say to lead it off, but right now, let's go back to that interview with the Padre catcher, Terry Kennedy. Terry, your reaction to the umpire's strike?
Well, I believe that they had the right to do what they did, even though it might seem piddling to a lot of people what the issue is. But I'm worried about how well the amateurs are going to do. They could, they could cost us $30,000, $40,000 on one call, us or the Cubs. And I think it's the league's fault for dragging their feet, because this could have been solved a long time ago. And they surely knew that to have maximum leverage, the umpires could possibly go out just before the playoffs.
Ron Say to lead it off. Ronnie hitting .240 on the year. 25 home runs, 97 RBIs, and the Penguin came on when they needed him.
Yes, he did. He drove in some runs. You know, he's 36 years old. They say he lacks arm strength. They say he lacks quickness, but he gets the job done. It's like we said in the pregame show. He makes the sure plays. He only made 11 errors all year, and only one other year did he have a better percentage than that.
Let's see where they pitch, Ron. Say he's got that tape on his hand, and the Padres have been crowding him, jamming him all year. We'll see if they try to stay inside on him today.
Boy, Dick Williams barking out of that San Diego dugout. There's been a lot of shoulder shrugs out there with Kennedy and Chow. There's Williams. I guarantee you one thing, that man right there will keep that home plate umpire, Dick Cavanaugh. He won't let him go to sleep.
No, he's upset. There's no doubt that he's upset. And I'm talking about the amateur umpires.
There's the fastball for the strike. Well, a lot of people will say, as we've talked about up here, well, maybe what's the difference? You have to adjust. But the thing is, as a pitcher, when you don't get the pitches that you should get, you change the sequence of pitching.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The 3-1 pitch. Walked him.
Well, they're going to stay with their pattern. They're going to try to stay inside on him. He stayed that way until he walked him.
Well, the Penguin goes to first.
Here's this pitch here. Not really that close. Not close to hitting him, but way inside. That's where they want to try to get Ron Say out. Ball 4.
Oh, Eric Chow. And about the only thing that you can do, somebody might wonder, well, what can you do? You've got to go back. You can't change your style to the point to where you're going to completely give things up. You've got to force it in the mind of that home plate umpire. What you do, how the ball breaks, and where your locations are.
And so far, I've seen that Shaw wants to start some hitters off with breaking balls, and I think that's the pitcher. That's the pitch that home plate umpire Dick Cavanaugh has been missing.
That's
the breaking ball on the first pitch.
I agree with you 100%, Earl. 0-1 to Jody Davis, who hit .256. Breaking pitch high.
And we got to say on first base, really no threat to run, especially with the wind blowing out. Jim Fry's going to try to get the 2-run homer, the 3-run homer if he can.
Davis with 19 home runs and 94 RBIs. You see that number against Chow. High to left. Now watch where that'll end up. There's Martinez fighting a little bit of the sun. One away.
Davis didn't miss that pitch by much either.
Earl, whenever you hit him to the medium outfield there at Wrigley Field with that wind blowing out, you don't miss him by much. It is amazing how the game is played with the wind blowing out as compared to the way the wind will blow in.
Well, here's one fellow that is not a threat to hit the ball out of the park, even though the wind is blowing out.
I don't know, Earl. I tell you, I don't know. The way that Bob Denier hit his ball completely out of the stadium, I wouldn't doubt if this guy could hit one as well.
Well, we've got the outfield in very, very shallow, and all swung around to left field.
Well, that's got to be the book on Boa. He's a switch hitter and will hit from the left side against the right-handed pitching of Xiao. It's 223 on the year. Larry did not have a home run. He had 17 RBI. There you see right there what he has done against Xiao. That last pitch in 92. Hard. Templeton will go to the bag himself and turns it loose. And he can turn it loose. So just like that, the Cubs are gone in the second inning. No runs, no hits, no errors. They leave nobody. We're through 2 in game 1. The Cubs lead the Padres 2-1. Carmelo Martinez to lead it off for the Padres in the third, and I had a chance to talk with Rick Sutcliffe. Of course, Sutcliffe 16-1 with the Cubs, 4-5 at Cleveland. Was there one thing that fell into place? Because you were just right around the 500 mark with Cleveland. What turned it around over here?
Well, the last 2 years, I led the American League in walks, and when I came over here, Billy Connor set me down and said, with this ball club, as many runs as they scored and the great defense that they play, you don't need to walk anybody, and if you can keep the ball in the park, you're going to win a lot of games. And I just sat back and I found out that I had a little bit better stuff than I'd give myself credit for, and I just quit walking people. I think in the last 2 months, they said I walked maybe a handful of people, and with our ball club, as many runs as they score, then you're going to win a lot of games if you don't walk people.
And indeed, that is pitcher's worst enemy, base on ball, as Carmelo Martinez will lead it off. He hit 250 on the year, 13 home runs, 66 RBIs. Look at that. That will give you an example right there. Has not walked the leadoff batter in the last 63 innings. Outside, and the count goes to 2-0 to Martinez, a former Cub himself.
Well, he's 2-0 now. If he's not going to walk the leadoff hitter, he's got to come to a man that can hit the ball out of the ballpark.
This is where you're going to see how good he's going to be, because in the past he's been able to get guys like this out with this kind of count. He's been that good this year that even when he gets behind, he comes back down.
Well, as I said earlier, he's thrown a lot of 2-0 breaking balls, 3-1 breaking balls, and he's been able to get that pitch over, varying this with a fastball.
And he walks him. So the Padres have their first base runner of the afternoon, the base on balls to Martinez, so that will break that string. Sutcliffe had retired 6 in a row and striking out 3 of the 6 as Gary Templeton will stand in. I think what the Padres have got to do right now, yes, I'm sure that they have been a little bit disturbed down in that dugout, Xiao Kennedy and manager Dick Williams, but they've got to get themselves regrouped as quick as they can and say, look it, we can't fight these guys. We've got to go out and join them, and we've got to try and come back and win.
You're going to have to trust them. Keep doing the things that you have to do and hope that the umpire really will fall in line.
There's a fly ball center field. Denier going back. See the sun shining. Look at that ball carry right in front of the 368 marker. Oh, my.
Here's a good example of what we talked about, outfield defense. Ball hit well. Templeton smacked it hard. Denier off with the crack of the bat, fighting the sun right there, trailing the ball. In spring training, those are the ones that Jim Fry said went for extra bases.
Well, that was an outstanding play right there, I'll tell you. When you see a guy like Rick Sutcliffe walk a hitter, give up a line drive like that, when you're hitting against him, you know he may be having a little problem now. As good as he's been, you know you've got to take advantage of that problem.
Well, there's 2 pitchers out here this afternoon that can swing the bat, Eric Xiao and Rick Sutcliffe. You saw that last stat on Xiao. He hit 246 on the year, 3 home runs and 10 RBI.
Well, with a lot of pitchers, it'd be an automatic sacrifice, but not with Xiao.
Look at that. Oh, Lord.
Pretty good swing.
There's some National League hitting pitchers right there. Rick Rhoden, excellent. Schatzeder, Montreal. Mailer with Atlanta. Sutcliffe and Xiao. Good fastball.
There's one he threw right by him. Well, the big winners in Major League Baseball don't only pitch well, but they help themselves with the glove and they help themselves with the bat also.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. And he struck him out. There it is, Earl. He came with a 3-2 hook.
Well, that's one of the amazing things, and if you're able to throw that 3-2 breaking ball, and especially to the opposing pitcher, it's unbelievable. Here's the super slow-mo again. Looks like it's going to be a high fastball, but you can see the spin on the ball, the curveball breaking down over the strike zone. Just an amazing pitch.
Now there's 2 gone, and that will bring on the leadoff hitter, Alan Wiggins, who lined hard to Dernier to lead off the ball game. Of course, with that super slow-mo, you'll be able to pick up actually the stitches on the ball. That's foul left side. And of course, as we all watch the Summer Olympic Games from Los Angeles, ABC's coverage had a chance to see the super slow-mo in action, and for the first time right here on Major League Baseball, a chance to see it in a new sport. Indeed, it is very intriguing.
Well, when you can pick up the seams on a baseball being thrown over 90 miles an hour, it has to be intriguing.
Of course, Ted Williams was always a man who used to talk about picking up the rotation of the ball, picking up the seams, the spin.
And because he could do it, he hit 400.
That outside corner. 0-2 very quickly to Wiggins. Got it. Weak swing and a breaking pitch. That is the 5th strikeout for Sutcliffe. The Padres are gone in the 3rd. No runs, no hits, no errors, and they leave a man aboard as you look at that breaking pitch again. Wiggins, just a half swing right here. We're through 2.5. The Cubs lead it 2-0.
I have with me sweet swinging Billy Williams of the '69 Cubs. Brings back great memories here today, huh, Billy?
It really does, Tim. And, of course, I was just sitting here and just looking out in left field and saw some balls that you hit out there in left center. And, of course, you know, you look at a game like this, and although the Cubs are up 2 runs, you got 2 very good pitchers out there. But, you know, playing here in Wrigley Field, the game is never over until it's over.
Sweet swinging Billy Williams. Now let's go back up to the booth to Don Drysdale. Donald.
Thank you, Timmy, and thank you, Billy. Boy, you talk about a sweet swing.
Billy couldn't have said it better.
No, sir. Here's Rick Sutcliffe, and he can help himself with a bat. Hit 250 on the year, had 6 RBIs. Sutcliffe, as I mentioned before, came from Cleveland with Ron Hassey and George Frazier. In a trade that was just about botched up in the minds of many baseball people, 4 players were sent to the Indians, and the Cubs had trouble getting waivers on, too. Mel Hall and Joe Carter. It took 5 days to really complete that trade and put those players in Indian uniforms.
High to right, way back. This ball is gone.
Oh, he wants to do it all by himself. Oh, he's not far from it. That ball is hit completely out of the stadium. I mean, on the other side of the street.
And Reggie Jackson's shot.
What can you do? 16-1 on the year, and the first time up, hit one completely out of the ballpark.
Well, here it is. Shaw's going right after him. Fastball below the belt, over the screen in right field. He's going to be a free agent, Reggie. He can hit. He's 16-1 in the National League. My goodness, how rich is he going to be?
It's 3-0 the Cubs, and action will start in the Padre bullpen as the leadoff hitter Bobby Dernier stands in. Led off the first inning for Chicago with a home run. Up high, and the count 2-0. Harris loosening up in the Padre bullpen, and very quickly the count is 3-0. He walked it. Second walk. There's the swing right here, Reggie.
I tell you, he just leaned back and got a real good full swing on that ball like he had done it before. Look at this.
Eric Schau throws him what they call a fastball right down the middle. Sutcliffe coils, and I mean boom. He is not just trying to put that ball in play. He's trying to put it out of play, and that's what he did.
And again, from our super slow-mo advantage point, as they'll have a little chat on the mound, the pitching coach Norm Sherry out to talk with Schau. Nettles and Kennedy were there. They go back as Harris continues to throw in the Padre bullpen. So you've got good speed at first, and Bobby Dernier, 45 stolen bases on the year.
Definitely a run situation.
And you've got a good man at the plate that can handle the bat in Ryan Sandberg.
One thing I know, and I know you know it, Reggie, that Dick Williams will not let him get down in this ballpark. That mental toughness you talked about, he'll be reminding them we can score 3 runs ourselves.
Oh, that's for sure. It's quite easy to score 3 runs in this ballpark, especially today, because they've hit 3 home runs. But maybe to the advantage of the San Diego Padres, there's been no one on base.
Definitely to their advantage.
3 solo shots by Dernier and Matthews in the first inning, and Sutcliffe to lead off this inning, the third.
I tell you, I played with a guy in Oakland all the time. He used to give up 2 or 3 home runs all the time. No one was ever on base. That's Catfish Hunter, and he was a pretty good one.
And Sandberg takes inside. 1 ball and no strikes to count. The biggest thing that Schau has to think about right here, and what Norm Sherry might have been saying, now look at, let's don't get down a little bit and try and overthrow. Keep within yourself. We're not out of this ball game.
That's exactly right, and I believe he did try to overthrow to Dernier.
There goes Dernier on the hit and run, top right side. Dernier didn't see it. Now has to step back onto the bag. Look out for the wind. It dropped.
It's going to have to be scored as base hit. Sandberg had that big cut, never got all of the ball. This ball was Tony Gwynn's all the way, but evidently he took 4, 5, 6 steps backwards before he started coming in, and then could not regroup and get himself to the ball. There he is coming in after the ball, but after taking those steps backwards, it was just a little bit too far for him to go.
Here's Gary Matthews and the breaking pitch outside. He overthrew that breaking pitch.
You know, that base hit right there is only the 3rd base hit that Ryan Sandberg has got off Eric Schau. He came into this ball game lifetime 2 for 30 against him, and one of them was a bunt single.
And not a legitimate base hit at that.
Nobody out. Runners at first and second. Matthews, the strike, and the count 1-1.
Now there's a play that we used at Baltimore. Had the 3rd baseman back, not necessarily a sacrifice. Matthews thinking I'm going to accomplish 2 things at once if I can. I'm going to get the runners over and still try to bunt for a base hit. It was not a sacrifice attempt.
Takes a little bit off the breaking pitch the way Schau has been going right now. He might have to think about adjusting his pattern of pitching and go with a breaking pitch more to show him the fastball.
More change of speeds, I think.
Right.
I think too many pitches have been thrown up there at the same rate of speed.
All 3 home runs have been a hit off of fastballs. The only other base hit has been this little looper hit by Sandberg. Matthews setting a new record as he's had 4 home runs in 4 consecutive LCS games. That's to right field. Look out. McReynolds over, fighting the breeze to Sun with a catch. Dernier tags. He'll go to 3rd. Sandberg holding at first. There's one away.
There we saw the wind out there again playing tricks with the outfielder, Don. McReynolds went way back almost to the warning track, then had to come way in on the ball.
Well,
Matthews gets the job done as he advances the runner, Bob Dernier.
He moves Dernier to 3rd. What you have to think about here if you're an outfielder, there's 2 things. Actually 3 things. Number 1, your normal positioning that you would play the hitter. Number 2, a little Kentucky windage with the wind. And number 3, from center field to right, as this game progresses, will be the Sun field, and it'll end up in right field. Dick Williams down in the Padre dugout. As Leon Durham stands in, he pops to the second baseman. Alan Wiggins his first time at bat. A looper to left. That's going to drop for the base hit. Here comes Junior. Sandberg to third. Just throw by Martinez. They didn't have an umpire there. And he calls him safe.
Well, he got the play right, but there's no... I want to say there's no excuse for it. If they were Major League umpires, there wouldn't be any excuse for it. But they got caught with their hands in the cookie jar already.
Well, already we have seen enough to make Major League Baseball or somebody stop and think a little bit about this umpire situation.
That's not good. You're exactly right, Don and Earl. You see that happen. Fortunately, he made the correct call. As we see this ball again, a fastball out over the plate, looped in the left center. Martinez throws a strike to third base, and the umpire isn't even in the picture now. You can't even see him in the camera. Too bad. Really is too bad. That's not good for baseball. Luckily, he got the play right.
Now runners remain at first and third. It's 4-0 Cubs as Keith Moreland stands in. He takes the breaking pitch for the strike.
In the umpire's favor, the amateur umpires, if they had umpires down the line, the third base umpire would only have one job. He wouldn't have to go out to see if a ball was going to be caught and run back. They need 6 umpires, whether they're amateurs or whether they're professionals.
Earl, I can't understand why they don't have 6 umpires.
I think they should have 6 umpires as well, but that ball's hit in left center. He's supposed to be on the bag there. You don't need anyone down the line there.
Doesn't get the breaking pitch and a good one. 2-2 the count.
Well, let me say something about Moreland. Right there, we saw a breaking ball on the outside half that he tried to pull. Now that he's got 2 strikes, the scouting report is that he'll go to right field. We got Garvey holding the runner on at first base, and we'll see if that holds true.
There it was, the attempt.
The book on Keith Moreland is that he is a guess hitter, meaning he looks for pitches, be it curveball, fastball, also looks location, be it inside or outside. Sometimes he can look bad.
There's that hole on the right side with Garvey holding Durham, and he's got speed. He'll run, and there he goes. Fly ball hit to center field. McReynolds started back, tagging Sandberg. The catch, the throw. Offline, Sandberg scores 5-0 Chicago. They appeal at third, and the third base umpire was just walking back towards left field with his back to the play. So the run will count.
Well, that's 5 runs. People might think that this is turning into a blowout, but that's far from true here in Wrigley Field.
I would love to agree with you, Earl, but the way that Mr. Sutcliffe has been pitching all year long and today, it might be tough.
Here's Ron Say, and yes, sir, it's hard to give Rick Sutcliffe free rein. Say takes inside, so the pattern there is to keep it inside, jamming.
Say's another hitter that you might say, look, see, he hits a curveball equally as well as he does the fastball, which means that he might be looking for pitches at home plate also.
Oh, most hitters do. Most hitters do. They know the way someone's going to pitch them. They can work with the count, 2 balls and 1 strike, 2-0, 3-1, and they can hit accordingly.
Well, we've got the American League action coming your way tonight from Kansas City, and guys, I got to ask you, who do you like, Reggie?
Well, Kansas City beat us, so they must be tough.
Earl,
They beat
and
the
I
Angels.
have to say on paper, you know, past performances, black and white, Detroit to me has to be the big favorite of all 4 ball players.
I think so. I think, yes, you'd have to say that.
That doesn't mean it's true, but I'm going to say that.
Not in a short series, anything can happen, as we've all said, as they take the breaking pitch down low, 3-1.
And Shaw wants that.
Since we're in Kansas City, gentlemen, let's go back over there, and I say, on the carpet, the Kansas City Royals are as tough as anybody.
Boy, I'll tell you, they can create a circus of their own over there. You could just see the drop of the shoulders by Shaw saying, what in the world? 3-1 to say. Right now, let's go down to Tim McCarver.
All right, Don Drysdale, we're asking Chubb Feeney why there weren't 6 umpires in the ball game today, Chubb.
Well, we feel 4 is enough. When this has happened in the past, we've only used 4. These people are not used to working with 6 umpires. And we feel they're very competent, and we do use 4 all season. You know that, don't you, Tim?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chubb. Back to the booth, Steve.
And they use 6 in the playoffs in the World Series as he strikes out. So 3 runs in, and we're through 3. It is 5-0 Chicago. Took 5 days to really complete that trade and put those players in Indian uniform.
High to right. Way back. This ball is gone.
Well, we're back here at Wrigley Field, and 5-0. That was an interesting answer by the National League president, Earl Weaver.
Well, I wasn't satisfied with it. Chubb said that these fellas are competent. They only need 4. In every playoff and World Series I've been in, they needed 6 Major League umpires to call it right. Now, I don't understand the answer. 4 amateurs are better than 6 regular umpires. Doesn't make a lot of sense. What do you think, Red?
Well, I think we could suffice to say that Chuck Feeney feels a little embarrassed and uncomfortable and gave a bad answer under pressure.
That's exactly about the only way you could describe it as Tony Gwynn stands in, leading off the top of the 4th inning. Takes his strike 0-1. Gwynn, as we mentioned before, uses the entire field. He lined to the second baseman Ryan Sandberger's first time at bat.
Looked like Gwynn was taking the first strike, trying to get on base, but I think that's useless against Sutcliffe.
That's the center field. Hit hard. Denier going back. And out number 1. Boy, he's hit 2 balls right on the button.
He hit 350. He's hit a lot of balls on the button.
He has. Well, the National League Championship Series, this ABC Sports exclusive, is brought to you by Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this.
Let me ask you a question, Don. I notice, or it seems to me, as though Rick Sutcliffe seems a little more confident, like he's charging the hit a little more. I always watched for this when I was playing in a ball game. Does it seem so to you?
He is. He's challenging. He knows he's got fairly good command this afternoon. As Garvey takes the first pitch up high. Garvey caught looking his first time at bat. He will challenge you, Reggie. That's one thing about Rick Sutcliffe. He is not a standoffish type pitcher. You would have to classify Sutcliffe as a power pitcher, and any time that you get a power pitcher, as you both know, that's a little standoffish, look out. Good bunt, and Garvey will do that. Say comes on! Can't get him.
Smart heads-up play by Mr. Steve Garvey.
There's no doubt about that. Sutcliffe can't get hurt until they get people on base, and Garvey did what he was supposed to do, get on base in that situation.
And I'll tell you one thing, Steve Garvey is maybe one of the best bunters in all of baseball.
Well, this isn't really a great bunt. The ball is bunted fairly hard, but he's trying to take advantage, I'm sure, of Mr. Ramsey. Not quite what he used to be, although still an outstanding third baseman. He's playing back, and that's what happened.
Well, you got some high grass, and Garvey knows baseball. He does what he has to do when he has to do it. 2 men on base, he wouldn't do that. He'd try to hit the ball out of the ballpark and get him back in the game.
Let's give this man credit.
Well, here's Greg Nettles, and of course, when you look at the breeze, as we've talked before, put a man on, another man who can reach the seats, and you're back in the ball game, even though the Cubs are up 5-0 right now, top of the 4th. A lot of time left. But it will depend a lot on Mr. Sutcliffe, too. Nope, there went the right arm again, and it came back down.
I'm now watching. I thought he called it a strike.
Nope, he went back down. He's done that numerous times, Reggie. He's had me jumping a little bit up here.
He might be pointing outside with that right arm and calling it a ball.
That's the center field and hit well, but Denier going back, biting the sun in the breeze to make the catch on the warning track. To the deepest part of the ballpark.
Again, another one hit hard to center field, and Bobby Denier, he's impressing me with the jump he gets and the way he battles that ball out there.
So there's 2 gone, and that'll bring on Terry Kennedy, the catcher. Yes, sir, that young man, Mr. Bob Denier. What a welcome addition to this Cub ball club. See right there, the numbers on Terry, 6 hits and 62 at bats with 2 outs and runners on base. That's not going to get a lot of it.
No, that's less than 100. The last couple of years, he's driven in well over 90 runs a season. It's tailed off somewhat this year, Johnny.
Kennedy this year at the 240 mark, 14 home runs, 57 RBIs. We talked about Dernier. As you look at Garvey at first, that was the one thing that Jimmy Fry thought about in the spring when they had such a horrendous spring, as Earl alluded to at the top of the show. They made the trade for Dernier, and all of a sudden, some of those gaps were plugged.
Also gave him a leadoff man.
Right.
Well, Dallas Green was familiar with Dernier from being in the Philadelphia organization.
Low, 3-0. So, Sutcliffe, as you look at Ruben Amaro in behind, manager Jimmy Fry. Amaro, one of the coaches with the Cubs.
And he's also from the Phillies.
Yes, sir. And that man, he could pick it, too. Sutcliffe has taken a 3-ball count to a few hitters this inning as he walks him. Now, you talk about the breeze and the swing of the bat. First walk issued by Sutcliffe, although the Padres only have 1 hit. Check that. Second walk.
The last thing that Sutcliffe wanted to do, too.
There's a young man that has really come on for the Padres. He had a great spring. He had things to do, things to prove, and he did it. Kevin McReynolds.
Now, one thing I've noticed the last couple of years, I remember sitting next to Billy Martin one day in a dugout, and he told me, he said, Reggie, watch the opposing pitcher when he goes out on the mound, when his team scores runs. See if he gives up runs. He said, a lot of times they do, because they sit in the dugout a long time, they get a little stiff, and they're not quite the same. They get out of rhythm.
Down low, the count 1-0.
That stiffness in the dugout during a long inning is something that always bothered me. I tried some way or another to get my pitchers extra throws between innings.
And if you are a pitcher, that is the most important inning in the course of a ball game, if you can go out and shut that opposition down after you score. Outside. 2-0 the count.
Right now is the time, as I said a little earlier in the game, when you know you've got a tough pitcher that you're swinging the bat against today. You see him struggling now. You've got to capitalize now. You must get something now on the board.
And it's 3-0. So all of a sudden, home plate jumping around a little bit.
Very out of character for Rick Sutcliffe.
On deck, Carmelo Martinez. There's a strike, 3-1.
Well, it goes back to Steve Garvey's bunt. Made Sutcliffe think just in place of going right down the middle, it would only be 1 run. With Garvey on first base, it's 2 runs. The pitcher has to think a little bit about that.
And also, it turned around and made him work out of the stretch position. Walks him on a 3-1 slider.
Throwing that breaking ball when he's behind.
Now the bases are loaded with 2 outs and Carmelo Martinez the hitter.
I don't really like to see pitchers throw breaking balls behind when they're behind the hitter. As we see this breaking ball in our super slow-mo, what a thing of beauty. I do not like to see hitters throw breaking balls when they're behind in the count like this. They have a chance to walk that hitter. This man's got a 5-run lead right now.
That's been his bread and butter, though, and that's why he's 16-1. He's been able to get that pitch over when he's behind throughout the course of the season, and he don't want to change his pattern in this just because it's a playoff.
I agree he's been super, but I don't like it.
Outside, ball 1 to Martinez.
He's got a 5-run lead right now, or I'd like to see him go after the hitter.
Here comes Jimmy Fry. I wonder in a situation like this why he would even keep in that stretch position. Why not work out of the windup?
Well, he should be working out of the windup, but I know what Fry's going to say right now. Ordinarily, I wouldn't say this, but Fry's going to tell him, Rick, what difference does it make? They got the bases loaded. If he hits the ball out the park, the worst it's going to be is 5-4, and you've seen how we've swung the bat. We're going to get you more runs.
I've always noticed now when I was a hitter, or any young player that I have that plays on my ball club, when the pitching coach or the manager goes to the mound, when the pitcher has been having a control problem, the things that he says is challenge him. Go right after him. Now you see the manager leave the mound, you see the catcher come back home, you see the pitcher go back and snug his hat down tight. You're going to get a fastball, pal. Be swinging.
Yes, sir, in this count right here.
Yes, sir.
And if you've been around long enough, that's the one thing that you would maybe stay away from. If you had fairly good command, you might go to the breaking pitch.
Might go to the breaking pitch. Jim Fry, if it was a mechanics problem, would have sent the pitching coach out. But this is something that will go after him, Rex. He wants him to go after him. But, again, I say Sutcliffe has as good a control of his slider as he does of his fastball.
You saw that possible pickoff attempt. Sutcliffe will use that. He'll come up out of that stretch position and go back to second base. Low, and it's 2-0 as Dravecki has joined Harris in the Padre bullpen. There's Garvey at third. You've got Kennedy at second.
This is a very favorite spot right now for a hitter, Donnie. 2 balls and no strikes. You know you're going to get a ball to drive. Just keep it fair.
And you've got to be a little selective, too. To right field, hard, coming on. Moreland makes the catch! What a catch by Moreland!
Converted catcher, but he didn't look like it on this play. Right on in, made an outstanding play, and took Sutcliffe out of trouble.
So the Padres are gone. No runs are hit, no errors. They leave the bases loaded. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning, and the Cubs lead the Padres 5-0. As we go to the bottom of the 4th inning, to lead it off for the Chicago Cubs will be Jody Davis, followed by Larry Boa. And then the pitcher spot, Rick Sutcliffe, as you look at some of the people on the rooftops here around Wrigley Field. High on that flagpole on the left field line, a very familiar number, and he has been the man who has thrown out the first pitch. There it is, the only uniform for the Cubs to be retired, number 14, Mr. Cub, Mr. Ernie Banks. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Davis fly to left his first time at bat. Breaking pitch in and over. A ball and a strike.
A lot of baseball people would say, here, Shaw's given up 5 runs in 3 innings. What's he still doing in the ball game? But he's still got good stuff. Still getting his breaking ball over.
Shaw takes the count, 2 balls and a strike. Well, I think they even that last inning, although the Padres were shut out on that fine catch by Moreland, that's out of play. Back up over our head. It's got to give you a little lift saying, well, wait a minute, the man is certainly, he's not invincible. He can be a little wild just like anybody else.
You're right there, Don.
To right field. High, Gwynn coming on. He'll fight the sun a little bit. And Tony makes the catch. 1 away. And that'll bring on the shortstop, Larry Boa. That's to the left side. Watch the breeze. It's bringing it back. Coming over Templeton. Look out. As he makes the play. And indeed, that's exactly what we were talking about. So Rick Sutcliffe will come on. Sutcliffe in a little jam as he comes up. But earlier I talked to Jimmy Fry and I asked him, how do you tell when Sutcliffe is in trouble?
Rick Sutcliffe. Now, he's had such a great year, 16-1. How do you tell when he's in trouble?
Well, to tell you the truth, when he got up to about 8 or 9-1, I just let him out there and let him work it out himself, and he usually did. I felt like he had things going his way. You know, pitchers can run in streaks just like everybody else. He seemed to have things go his way. He'd get in trouble and have a way of getting out of it. Get the big strikeout or the big double play. In a playoff situation, you naturally can't be as patient as you would during the season. But he's not the kind of guy you get jumpy on the first couple innings. He usually has a way of hanging in there.
1 ball and 1 strike to count. Sutcliffe homered his first time at bat, deep over the right field bleacher section and completely out of the ballpark. He hit it a ton. I'll tell you one thing, he does not get cheated.
He was swinging for another one, let me tell you.
The Garvey makes the catch, 3 up, 3 down for the Cubs in the fourth. We're through 4. The Cubs lead it 5-0. Well, don't forget, that'll be coming your way tonight right here on ABC, the American League Championship Series, game number 1 from Royal Stadium in Kansas City, the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals. And, guys, I'll tell you what, when you talk about if there is a home field advantage, home fan advantage, those people in Kansas City have a way of coming to life.
I agree with you, and I know that Kansas City is going to have to win the first 2 in their ballpark in order to have a chance, because when they get to Detroit, the Tigers grow 10 feet tall.
Come on, Earl. Holy cow, you're making it tough. I would say that the Kansas City Royals have played some of the best baseball of anybody since the middle of July, and they're awfully tough in their ballpark. They have a ball club built with speed, built for the carpet, and they are awfully tough in Kansas City.
And right here at Wrigley Field, 5-0, the Cubs on top. As we go to the top of the 5th inning, Gary Templeton will lead it off. Line hard to Denier in center field. He'll be followed by Eric Shaw, at least his spot, but Tim Flannery is out in the on-deck circle, and Alan Wiggins, the leadoff hitter, inside. It took a fine diving catch by Moreland to end the inning in the 4th. The Padres had the bases loaded and 2 out. Line drive, little looper going back. Boom, but the breeze will take it out of his reach. So the Padres and Templeton get a little bit of a break.
That's the type of base hit that gets things started.
You know, the wind is not only a factor with the ball hit out of the ballpark, it also takes the little bloopers out of the reach of fielders.
Boy, that is an example right there. Boa just could not catch up to it. Now there you take the breeze on a normal day, Reggie, or even with the breeze had turned around and been blowing in, can of corn.
That's right.
Can of corn.
I think right now we can see why Eric Shaw was still pitching in the ballgame. He was going to hit this inning. Dick Williams wanted to get a chance to use a pinch hitter for him.
Tim Flannery, 273 on the year, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs. Line drive type hitter. But I'll tell you, this man will give you 100%. He is a hustling type ball player. Look out, hit him.
He took it. He didn't try to get out of the way of it.
There's one for the Gipper right there. Or for the Padres, and here comes Jimmy Fry, Jody Davis, and Rick Sutcliffe both saying, wait a minute.
He did not mind getting hit, that's for sure.
Reminds me of a fellow in World Series got hit with a throat from the shortstop, stuck his knee out.
Oh, no.
Here we get to see it again, and we can see that Flannery never tried at all to get out of the way of this pitch. In fact, look at there. He stuck the knee right into it, took it for the ball club, and now there's 2 men on base and nobody out.
And the top of the order coming up in Alan Wiggins, who is lined to center and struck out.
He's in the batter's box. The ball was in the batter's box as well. He doesn't have to give. There are a lot of hitters that do turn away from the pitch as he was trying to do. That ball hit him. I'm sure that Mr. Flannery did not mind getting hit that time.
He didn't mind getting hit, but the rule book states that you have to make an effort to get out of the way of the pitch.
There it is right there, of course. Well, I can vouch for that rule very well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Reggie, and I know you can, too. What about the World Series with the Dodgers?
My name is Joe. I don't know.
Yes, the rule is there. High chopper. Boa will step on second. They get the 4th. And that is all. So moving to third is Templeton. Flannery is out. And at first base with the fielder's choice is Alan Wiggins, and Tony Gwynn will come on. Tony Gwynn, of course, the National League batting champion, led all the major leagues in hitting. And our congratulations to Don Mattingly for that title over in the American League. What a year that young man had.
Well, he and Winfield went at it for about 2.5 months. Took a guy like Tony Gwynn. He plays in San Diego. They don't read about him in the East because the media doesn't have that kind of coverage where it gets back there the next morning, Don. There's a man with 213 base hits, and barely very many people know who he is.
Well, we'll keep an eye on Alan Wiggins. 70 stolen bases on the year. He can scoop. He'll get as big a lead as anybody. He's got excellent speed.
It would be silly to get picked off in this situation, but also if Wiggins if he can get that stolen base, that's another man in scoring position and eliminates the double play.
Pop fly. Boa moving back. Makes the catch. everybody goes back.
That's a big out right there, Donnie. First and third, one out. A man with 213 base hits, a 350 hitter, and they do not score a run. That's an important out for Mr. Sutcliffe and the Chicago Cubs.
Well, there's two gone. Templeton remains at third, Wiggins at first, and here's Steve Garvey. Now, you might take a look at Wiggins at first with a right-hand hitter up. You see Garvey right there in League Championship Series. Reggie, you're on top, 18. Nettles was 17. Garvey was 14 along with Brett. You'll get a chance to improve that tonight. What do you do here, Earl? You green lighting?
Well, right now, no. I'd like him to stay at first base and give these fellas a chance to get me 3 runs. Of course, all us managers, we managers don't think alike.
That's what makes the world go round.
1 ball and no strikes to Garvey. 2-0.
Two of them right in on the hands, and Sutcliffe might have won at that pitch.
It appeared he wanted it. Now Garvey sitting in a driver's position.
I get a lot of enjoyment out of watching a hitter as he makes a move over to first base. I get a lot of enjoyment right now as a baseball player that played, watching a guy like Steve Garvey right now. He knows what he's up against. He knows Sutcliffe is on the roll, and he knows he's got to cash in on something. We're going to see an outstanding at-bat right now.
Not a good swing at a 2-0 pitch. He came with a slider, so Sutcliffe, a former teammate of Garvey with the Dodgers, knows that very well.
Well, we get to see the pitch again, and Sutcliffe is showing he's not going to give in to the hitters. It's 2 balls, no strikes. I would have been looking fastball, Reggie, but here Sutcliffe, 16-1, throws that breaking ball.
There, the breeze will keep that in play as Durham moves over, and in front of Sandberg makes the catch. So the Padres are gone in the 5th. No runs on a hit. They leave a pair. We're halfway through with the Cubs leading it 5-0.
Bill Murray, a lifelong Cubs fan. You got to like the way things are going now.
Well, this is fun. I waited my whole life for this. I never had good seats this good until like the 6th inning when there was nobody here. You could sneak down here. This is great. To be able to pay for the seat is exciting, very exciting.
It is exciting. Okay, let's go back. Bill Murray, the classic comedian and movie star. Yes, you want something else?
Yes, I think everyone in Chicago should just lie down the floor for a few minutes. Just calm down. It's going to be a long week.
We're calm down here, and so are they in the booth. Don Drysdale, take it.
All right, Timmy, thank you very much, and thank you, Bill, as Greg Harris comes on to take over the pitching chores. See the record in 84, a record of 2-2 and a 2.48 ERA.
Scouting report on Harris. He throws fastball, curve, slider, decent breaking stuff. He's a fellow that can't pitch up. Usually gets in trouble when he throws the ball up above the belt.
Here is Bobby Dernier. He takes the breaking pitch for the strike. Dernier, of course, excellent speed. And the count very quickly 0-2.
2 good breaking pitches.
A little bit low with a breaking pitch in the count 1-0.
Oh, right now, I'm sure, Earl, maybe you can comment on this, is what Dick Williams is looking for right now, Adam Harris. Just to kind of hold them so they can stay close, or what?
Oh, definitely. Got to keep them close.
Foul left side. We understand from the word that we have, they were just making sure that the umpire knew of the pitching change, just double-checking.
And that everybody's lineup card reads the same. The umpire holds the official batting order. No matter what anything else is, he's got the official batting order in his pocket.
Ground ball inside the back down the line. They'll go for extra bases. Dernier around first on his way for 2 as Martinez gets on the ball, and Dernier stops at second with a leadoff double.
Wasn't a bad breaking ball. He had it on the outside half of the plate. Dernier up on his front foot, a little bit ahead. Got the end of the bat on it and put it in a perfect spot, right over the bag at third base.
Well, he has not been swinging the bat that well the last couple of weeks of the season, but you never know it today. A playoff, funny things happen.
A little adrenaline.
Here's Ryan Sandberg. He singled his last time at bat and later scored. Struck out in the first, so he is 1 for 2. One ball and no strikes to Ryan Sandberg. He'll be trying to move that man to third, shooting that ball to the right side if he can, possibly, but maybe not right here either. Not necessarily with a 5-0 lead.
Also, Bob Denier right now with a 5-0 lead knows he can take a chance and he can run. He's got a right-handed hitter at the plate right now. He's got some protection. Watch out for this man stealing third base.
Well, 2-0, Sandberg should be looking to hit it out the ballpark. That's what I'd want him to do. Another breaking ball.
Now, Harris has gone strictly to the breaking pitches. Denier looking at third base coach Don Zimmer as if to say, I can get a lead. I can get a lead. Do you want me to go? Templeton well back at short. Wiggins, the only man trying to keep him close. That's outside, and Sandberg walks.
And now we might see the double steal to stay out of the dozo.
Well, Gary Matthews, acquired from the Philadelphia Phillies in spring training. Earlier, I had a chance to talk to him.
Dallas Green has been quoted as saying when Gary Matthews came here, he needed a holler man. He needed a leader on the field.
Well, I don't know so much about the holler man. I think I have the respect of my teammates as far as saying something to them and them listening, and whether or not they try and go out there and do it. At least they practice at that particular instance. But Dallas has praised me quite a bit this year, and I really do appreciate it. And it's just one of those things where I'm glad he was able to take a chance on me coming from Philadelphia, and I think I showed the people here and him that I still can play this game of baseball.
Well, you just saw Gary Matthews as he lines one in the opposite field in the seat. 3 runs in, and the Cubs take a commanding 8-0 lead.
Maybe he should give more lectures.
Well, that's one way. That's one way to be a leader. Hit 3-run homers. Here we get the pitch. Matthews looks like he's just trying to get the runners over. It looks like he tried to go to right field. He got good wood, and the ball went right out of this ballpark.
Had a good full swing on that ball right there, Earl, and he got the ball up in the air, and bingo. He was giving us a conversation and made it all come true.
And they want him to come back out again. They call him the Sarge, and there's the salute to the fans. Well, you know what's going through that man's mind right now. A little high to Leon Durham. 1 ball and no strikes the count. There's the breaking pitch, in and over.
Yeah, we're looking at an 8-0 ball game in the bottom of the 5th inning, but it's a 5-game series.
Yes, sir. Jamsey. Big hop to Wiggins. To Garvey, 1 away. Well, when you're a manager, Earl, in that position right there, you say, well, we're down 8-0. It's going to take an awful big thing to happen for us to come back, but there's tomorrow. We've got to go out and get them tomorrow. Well, right here, with the 4 home runs by the Cubs, they have tied a league championship series record for one team. Dernier, Matthews has hit 2, and Sutcliffe.
Granted that Mr. Sutcliffe is completely on top of his game. He's got a commanding 8-0 lead. But in baseball, as they say,
what a play! Wiggins knocks it down, and then can't come up with it.
In baseball, as they say, you never know. And they say it's never over until it's over, and make fun of statements like that. But oh, how true.
Here we get a hard hit ball. Wiggins almost came up with it. What an outstanding play that would have been.
Well, if you're playing in a ballpark like Baltimore or a pitcher's ballpark like San Diego, you get an 8-0 lead, maybe something you can't catch up. But you get in the Fenway Park, you get in the Wrigley Field, you never know what can happen.
Well, that's right.
You're definitely right. I wouldn't think of giving up as early as it is in the ball game, but I would have to start thinking about my bullpen for the future.
That's what I was wondering about. That's why I asked that question about what Dick Williams could be thinking about right now. How long do you go with a Harris, and where do you start moving in your other bullpenners, if indeed you do?
Well, right now, there's no one warming up.
That slider down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike as Moreland stands at first. 1 out, 3 runs in. A 3-run home run by Gary Matthews. his second home run of the afternoon, and 2 of the 4 hit by the Cubs. 1-2, a good breaking pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Say. 3 runs in, and the Cubs lead at 8-0. Oh, what a good swing by Say. Count remains 2-2.
Get a ball player right now like Ronnie Say. His team's got an 8-run lead. Got a man on base here, and the pitcher is struggling. He wants to join the party.
That curveball inside. The count goes full 3-2. 1 out. We'll keep an eye on Moreland. Say has walked and struck out. 0 for 1. There goes Moreland. Line shot foul.
Moreland not known for his speed either.
I think right here with Moreland at first and Say at the plate, and Jimmy Fry knowing what can happen here at Wrigley Field, would just like to try and stay out of a double play.
You see him starting the runner, trying to stay out of a double play, which means that Mr. Jimmy Fry is not that comfortable sitting on an 8-run lead. He's going for as many runs as possible.
There's no doubt about that. He certainly wouldn't want to blow one like this.
Outside, and he walked him. And he walked him on a breaking pitch. Cubs put runners at first and second. You have Moreland at second, Say at first, and here's Jody Davis 0 for 2, has flied to left and flied to right. Still no action in the bullpen, so it might be up to young Greg Harris to work himself out of a jam. Little looper and a broken bat, base hit. Here comes Moreland. To third it's Say. It's a 9-0 ball game.
When things go right, they really go right. A good breaking ball under the bat, broke the bat, and fell right where no one could handle it.
Exactly. When things are going right for you, it really doesn't matter what you do. You break your bat, wind up with an RBI single.
Here we get it. You can see the break of the ball. Davis backing away, the bat flew one way, the ball went the other.
Exactly. Talking about things going right for you, Jody Davis bailed on that pitch. Pulled away from it, got the bat on it, broke the bat, still got a base hit.
Here's Larry Boa. Wiggins could be 2. He will touch the runner, the run score. So Davis stopped as Wiggins might have had a little mental lapse, Earl.
Well, Don, I really don't think so. Davis at first base did the right thing.
Yes.
He did not let the second baseman Wiggins tag him. If he gets in a rundown, that run's going to score either way.
Exactly. Give credit to what Jody Davis did.
Good base running.
He stopped and did not automatically run into the out.
Now the fans on their feet as Rick Sutcliffe stands in. 5 runs in, 10-0. The Cubs on top. A little looper, but Bree's going to take that away from Templeton and drops it to Martinez. Ball at third. Sutcliffe is 2 for 3.
Can't do much more. Can't do much more than what this man is doing today.
And again, another broken bat base hit.
Again, things are going the right way.
Now Sutcliffe, he does not want the jacket. Look of it.
I'm sure that he doesn't care right now. He's got a 10-0 lead, and he is on a roll. He's got a couple of base hits. He's in charge. All the adrenaline's flowing. I'm sure he doesn't need anything to keep him warm.
Not much. Bob Dernier, you see right there, 2 for 2. He scored 3 times. A home run. He has walked and scored and doubled and scored. Sutcliffe at first, Boa at third. Well, that's 10-0. You think about that?
We think about it. Just last week, the
right.
Twins were up 10-0, trying to keep themselves from getting eliminated. They lost the game 11-10.
That's low.
I wonder if Rick Sutcliffe was on the mound then, though.
No. They had a pretty good one, though, Frank Viola.
That's true.
Pretty good one. second walk in the inning. And the 11th man to come to the plate. And here comes pitching coach Norm Cherry.
Still nobody up in the bullpen.
Every once in a while, like you did say earlier, John, a guy just has to stay out there and take his lumps for the benefit of the ball club in order to save the bullpen.
Well, in this situation right here, and I'm sure Terry Kennedy is probably saying something to Norm Cherry. We know it's been a bad inning, but that was not a bad pitch.
He's made some good pitches. There's 2 broken bats and 12 for base hits. Well, as a manager, I'd want more runs, but my thoughts would be, let's get Sutcliffe back on that mound. Get him working again.
You're a manager and not a player, and the players are right now saying, hey, Ryan Sandberg is saying that I haven't joined the party yet. I've got a fluke single, but I want to get involved.
Well, he can take you deep. 19 home runs on the year. Nettles, good play, goes the short way. They don't get it. Another run scored.
Sandberg, again, trying to get into the party, trying to join the party, hits a hard smash inside the third base bag. Nettles making that ever so popular diving stab with a great throw to second base, but not in time.
Nettles completely extended on the play. Did the only thing he could, get it down to second base. Demier's feet beat the play.
And they will give Sandberg a base hit. And here is Gary Matthews. 2 home runs today at Copper Foul.
Take a look again at this home run, a fastball away, and he hits it right into the right field bleachers.
And that happened this inning, Reggie.
Yes, it did.
Believe it or not.
That seemed like a long time ago.
Yes, it does.
Most home runs in a game. Brett and Robertson, National League. Robertson with Pittsburgh in 1971. Brett for Kansas City, 1978. So Gary Matthews knocking right at the door.
I will say right now that with the score the way it is right now, that I'm sure Mr. Matthews is thinking about that 3rd home run, and he's got the bases loaded as well.
Got him looking. So he'll have to wait another time at bat. But the Cubs come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 runs. And they lead it by a score of 10-0. We'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local station. Well, it's 11-0. Greg Nettles will lead it off as we go to the 6th. I talked with Greg prior to the game.
You're back home. You've left New York. Any thoughts ever enter your mind about the years in New York?
Oh, yeah. Those were probably the best years of my baseball life. I spent 11 good years there. We had some good ball clubs. But right now, I'm a San Diego Padre. And, you know, to come over here to a team that I've been a fan of my whole life and to get into the playoffs the first year is a dream come true for me.
What about George Steinbrenner? Any thoughts there?
No, he's got a lot of rebuilding to do over there. And if, you know, like my advice before was to let the baseball people handle it, and they'll be all right. And I hope he lets that happen, because I'd like to see the Yankees on top again, because it's good for all of baseball when the Yankees are on top.
Well, the words of Greg Nettles as he hits the first pitch and sends the fly ball to Bobby Dernier in center field. There's one out in the at the top of the 6th inning, and Terry Kennedy will come on. He is 0 for 1, bounced to second and walked. 11-0. The Cubs a commanding lead in game number 1 of the National League Championship Series.
When we talked about pitches by Sutcliffe, he took 12 pitches in between innings. He's thrown 78 pitches going into this inning, 36 of them the last two innings.
There's Greg Booker in the bullpen. 0-2 to Kennedy. Up and away. A ball and 2 strikes. The seating capacity of 37,275. Could be some more here than that. as Kennedy goes down on strike, 2 gone to Kevin McReynolds.
Rest in between innings hasn't seemed to bother Sutcliffe, but right now the shadows are moving out in front of home plate. There we got Ernie Banks. I know he's a happy man.
And Don Zimmer, the third base coach. They played against one another here, and they played with one another.
You can see the shadows right there, ball coming out of the sun into the darkness.
Well, that can make it tough. Two balls and no strikes to McReynolds, who has struck out and walked. Sitting right there behind home plate, kind of put yourself in the eyes of the hitter.
Now that's right into your living room.
2-1.
It'd be interesting to see how many times he gets behind in the count, because you know, in command, the way he's been pitching the last couple of weeks of the season, he's going to go right after the hitters right now with a big lead like he has now. 11-0.
He got Nettles on the first pitch and jumped right ahead of the second hitter.
Well, I think that's the big thing you've got to do right here. Go right out after him, then just cut down your total number of pitches. That's all. But he turns around and walks McReynolds. Well, tonight on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, a look at one amateur umpire who is working today's game because of the strike, and the profile of the unorthodox owner of the Detroit Tigers. That's tonight on ABC's World News Tonight. We talked with Jim Evans just a while back, and he is the president of the Major League Umpires Association, and this is the statement of Jim Evans, the president. We feel that we are a very integral and essential part of the great game, and we deserve a fair distribution of the monies generated by baseball. In 1982, the leagues agreed to roll over the issues of pooling and preseason money. The leagues told us to wait and see how they came out with their negotiations for TV revenues in 1983. The league signed a 6-year TV package for $1.2 billion. That's an increase per year of $150 million. They told us to wait and see. We have waited and we have seen. They have offered us a token of $39,000, the increase. We don't feel that's fair or equitable, and we feel very strongly about that. Those were the words quoted by Mr. Jim Evans, the president of the Major League Umpires Association. And that is talking about postseason play, I should say. It is postseason play, talking about the League Championship Series and the World Series. And that is why we have the 4 men in blue here this afternoon, amateur umpires.
In not a good situation.
No, it's not. Carmelo Martinez goes down on strikes, and the Padres are gone in the 6th inning. Strikeout number 7. No runs, no hits, no errors, and a man left. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. It's 11-0. The Cubs on top.
But this is 1984, and the Cubs are playing strong in first place. As Chris Berman reports from Chicago, a big factor has been some key trades.
With all the hubbub here in the Wrigley Field area about whether or not they'd actually have lights for Cubs games in October, people are forgetting one thing. This is late August, and the reason we're talking about lights at Wrigley Field is because the Cubs are still in first place. The trade with the Indians that brought Rick Sutcliffe to Chicago is the biggest reason why.
Sutcliffe upped his mark Friday to a phenomenal 12-1 by twirling a shutout at good-hitting Atlanta, in Wrigley no less. If he had begun the season this way, his start would rival those of Fernando Valenzuela, Mark Fidrich, and Vida Blue in years gone by. He is doing all the right things since coming over from Cleveland. But then again, when you have a laundry list of pitches that you can throw for strikes, the result isn't that amazing.
Sometimes Jody don't even know what's coming. I mean, he's only got 5 fingers, and there's times that I got 7 pitches. So I throw a screwball, I've got a forkball, I've got a sinker, I've got a cross-seam fastball, I throw a slider, I throw a cut fastball. It just depends. You know, a lot of times you warm up in the bullpen and you can't get something over the plate. And all I try to do is try to locate my fastball and find something that's got some spin that'll go over the plate for me.
I feel like sometimes that I'm in his head as far as calling pitches go, and still we can't agree. And, you know, it's just one of those things. He feels like sometimes when he pitches, even if it's the hitter's strength, he feels like that's the pitch to throw at that time. And, you know, so far it's worked out.
The midseason deal with the Tribe did more than just bring a 12-1 pitcher into Wrigley. Mel Hall's departure opened the door for Keith Moreland to play right field every day. George Frazier came over in the same swap to help in the bullpen, and earlier trades this season brought a new left fielder, Gary Matthews, a new center fielder, Bob Dernier, and a new starter, Dennis Eckersley. No wonder General Manager Dallas Green has been charged up by his team's play.
I think he knows what he's doing there, and if we have a trade in the makings, I think it's going to help the ball club, in which I think all the trades that he's made so far this year has helped the ball club.
You know, everybody says you can't waste the future, but God, it's tough wasting the present, too, and I say it's tough to live through. And I think the people now are starting to recognize the fact that Dallas has done a wonderful job to build this team.
When you play let's make a deal, sometimes door number one is disaster. In this case, door number one has meant flag number one in the National League East standings, flying high at Wrigley. In fact, for the first time since 1945, the Chicago Cubs could be singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game in October. Among the ivy in the Windy City, I'm Chris Berman, ESPN.
Well, you're looking at the man in the blue shirt leaning over. Stand up, Dallas Green. We see you over there. He has put the pieces together, and what a job he has done, the general manager, vice president general manager of these Chicago Cubs. A great job by Dallas Green.
Got to give him credit because he went out on the limb and made changes.
Oh, you sure do. I'll tell you, at the start of the year.
He was vocal about it.
Well, what about coming out to front office and taking over a ball club and going into the World Series? That's amazing.
Got to give the man credit. He stepped up.
Leon Durham. There's a couple. You hopper right over to the second baseman Wiggins. One away as we go to the bottom of the sixth inning. And that'll bring on Keith Moreland, who is 1 for 2. A sacrifice fly in the third, has an RBI. He singled in the fifth and scored. Right fielder.
I think this reminds us of the 1969 Mets with a great catch that Ron Swoboda made. Remember, there were men on base when he made that play. I believe the bases were loaded. Carmelo Martinez hit that ball to right field with a 5-0 lead.
Right
Big
now,
play.
Even though the score, I think, Reggie and Earl, if you look at this game, that very well could have been the key play of the ball game so far.
Up to this point, it definitely is.
Big play. Oh, Don, what Earl Weaver was talking about earlier, you just wondered how long they were going to let Rick Sutcliffe go if they were going to try to bring him back and pitch the third or fourth game with a lot more rest.
Nettles on the line, long throw to get him.
And you see Mr. Brewster warming up in the bullpen now.
Well, it'll be interesting whether he is going to go with Brewster, whether he's getting some work in, but a reminder, be sure to join ABC Sports next Monday for another exciting game on Monday Night Football as Joe Montana leads the San Francisco 49ers against Phil Simms and the New York Giants live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time right here on ABC. 2 gone to say. Ron has walked, struck out, walked again, and scored.
Well, Harris has made some good pitches in this inning. Again, we got to go back to the 6-run fifth. He made some good pitches there, broke some bats, but they fell in.
That's hit to center field. Hit well. McRell's going back to the wall. Let's go.
That ball's hit good.
Boy, do they jump out of here.
I'm thinking they can jump.
The song for Reggie Jackson is If I Knew You Was Coming, I'd Hit You a Home.
Oh, boy. Well, Dick Williams, let's get our 9 in. Forget about it. That's only 1 out of 5.
That's a record number of home runs by a team in a championship series game.
There's a little looper down the right field line. The wind's going to keep that fair. So Jody Davis will go to second base, and he'll be there with a double. His second hit of the afternoon. He wasn't going to start the run until he saw the wind take the ball.
Well, we just saw Dick Williams, and there's not a thing he can do about it. Got to try to save this bullpen if he possibly can.
The cupboard was bare. As you look at that bullpen, and that'll bring on Larry Boa. Look at that. Off the end of the bat, Timberland got a charge. Bare hand, he can't get it. Throws it away. Here comes the runner from third, Davis, to throw to second. They won't get Boa. Davis scores. Another run for the Cubs. It's 13-0.
We get to see it again. A little squiver off the end of the bat. Wouldn't go right back to the pitcher. It goes to his right. Templeton comes in. Comes up with it one-handed. Does everything he possibly can to throw him out. A bad throw. And what's that about Murphy's Law? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
That's about it. And here is Rick Sutcliffe.
Safe all over.
Now the first error of the ball game. And Rick Sutcliffe will stand in. That is a hit and an error. Sutcliffe, he's going to try and catch Matthews. See, Sutcliffe, first time at bat, hit one right out of the ballpark in right field. Now in the dirt, blocked by Kennedy. Now don't forget, the American League Championship Series starts tonight from Royal Stadium in Kansas City, the Royals and the Tigers, and we'll be right back here again. Of course, that game tonight, 8 Eastern time, and we'll be right back here at Wrigley Field tomorrow with game number 2 starting at 2 o'clock Eastern time, the Cubs and the Padres. And we'll see 2 left-handers tomorrow, Steve Trout for the Cubs, Mark Thurman for the Padres.
Well, the score creates a situation for Jim Fry. Should I take Sutcliffe out or should I leave him in? He's going to get second-guessed either way. Drew Starr comes in and gives up some runs. They're going to say, why didn't you leave him in? Sutcliffe stays in and shuts him out, and it's a blowout. And then they're going to say, why didn't you save Sutcliffe so that he could go the 4th game?
See right there, new championship series record, 13 runs in a game, and we're a long ways from being over. They might just add to it.
Looks like Rick Sutcliffe trying to add to it himself, Don.
Boy, I'll tell you one thing. If it doesn't help to have a pitcher who can help himself swinging the bat, I don't know what else can. Gets him on the breaking pitch, so Sutcliffe is gone. But they pick up 2 more runs. On 3 hits, there was an error, and 1 man left. And let's go back. Look at the super slow-mo again. Watch the rotation of the ball, and watch Reggie, the swing of Ron Say.
This is a great home run cut right here, Don. Straight away to center field. He stays right on the baseball. Gets the ball up in the air. And Kevin McReynolds is just getting in wind sprint. There's no doubt about that.
So the Cubs are gone in the 6th inning. And that is the story. 6 in game 1, 13-0. The Cubs on top. Going to the top half of the 7th inning, Henry Cotto is the new left fielder for the Chicago Cubs. There's Cotto in left. Matthews comes out, and Gary Templeton will lead it off. Takes outside, 1-0. Sutcliffe out in inning number 7. Out of play. And they'll have a pinch hitter. Bobby Brown is out on deck as he will hit for Harris. There's Bobby.
Not only do they have to contend with the greatness of Sutcliffe right now, but they've also got to contend with those shadows. It's extra tough now.
Bounce foul right side. The count 2-2.
Well, in other ballparks, you'd hope for the whole field to be covered in shadows or for darkness to come in because you could turn the lights on and you could see better. But here in Wrigley Field, it's going to get darker, darker, and darker, and no lights to turn on.
Well, I'll tell you, if you could take the electricity from this crowd, you could light up this ballpark the best in Major League Baseball. If they have the lights.
I tell you, in playing for a guy like Dick Williams, you come back and complain about the lights right now and not being able to see. What he'd say is, well, look a little harder.
Yeah. It didn't hurt the other side. Up high. On the other hand, when you're talking about Sutcliffe, yes, he has struggled just a shade here this afternoon. But he's only given up 2 hits.
Amazing.
Bobby Brown will come on and pinch hit. Right now, let's go out somewhere in Wrigley Field and Tim McCarver. Timmy?
All right, Don, I have the partial architect of Wrigley Field. He planted the vines in 1938 and was partially responsible for the scoreboard, the ever-popular Bill Veeck. Bill, you love this seat, don't you?
Well, I sit here every time the sun shines. I've enjoyed sitting here this summer a great deal more than in summers past. But you know, the interesting thing is that people make a great mistake of thinking because they pay more money, they get better seats. These, as you can tell by looking, are the best seats in the house. The beer is colder. The sun's is warmer. You can tell more lies, and the people are more knowledgeable.
A very knowledgeable man in his own right, Bill Veeck. Now let's go back up to the booth to Don Drysdale.
Yes, sir, Jimmy, a knowledgeable man indeed. That is the view that the bleacher bums, as they call them here at Wrigley Field, have. And indeed, they have a ball. You know, the tickets were impossible to get, but 3 players, Keith Moreland, Bobby Dernier, Gary Matthews, made sure that some of the ever-loved bleacher bums represented the Cubs here during these playoff series. And they had a lottery, and they got together and put up 113 tickets, and the fans were able to buy them. That's up high. So the count 3-0 to Bobby Brown. That is where Sutcliffe has struggled today. He's walked a few.
Bobby Brown has been a pretty good pinch hitter, as we saw there, coming off the bench this year, hitting .375. You know, in my watching Rick Sutcliffe, he seems almost the same he was when he was in the American League. He gets a little bit wild, but he always seems to come back.
There's a strike, and the count goes to 3-1.
Every time you thought you had him on the ropes, he'd run the count to 3-0, 3-1. He'd walk a guy or two. Then he'd always make that important pitch, that pitch to put the game in balance and get him out.
Out of play, off to our left. And a full count out of Brown at 3-2. Well, he's a battler. There's no question about that. Got him looking. Strike 3 call.
That's what happens right there, Johnny. You come back from a 3-ball, 1-strike count. He gets a foul, and all of a sudden, strike 3.
And what do you think Brown could have been looking for?
Boy, I do not know.
It was a fastball right down the middle. We get to see it again. I mean, belt high right over the center of the plate.
Yes, it was. It was a 13-0 fastball right there.
That is strikeout number 8 for Sutcliffe this afternoon. And here's Alan Wiggins 0 for 3. Line to center. He is struck out, was on a fielder's choice. 1 ball and no strikes to count. 1 out, 1 on. We're in the top of the 7th inning. And the Cubs on top 13-0. Sutcliffe moving along on a 2-hit shutout. There's a shot to Sandberg. Goes to Boa for 1. Back to 0. They double him up. So the Padres are gone in the 7th. No runs, no hits, no errors. They leave nobody. We go to the bottom of the 7th, and the Cubs lead it 13-0.
Baseball fever. Catch it.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Well, Greg Booker is the third pitcher, but in the 7th inning stretch, the one and only, you've got to know the man, Harry Carey.
Harry's voice used to be a little bit better. But he gives it all. He gives us all.
I'll tell you, I've known that man I don't know how many years, and there is a legend. What a guy.
He was broadcasting for the St. Louis Cardinals when I got my only shot with the St. Louis Cardinals on a Major League roster. I hit
right?
268 that spring, but they would have rather had Shandy.
Bobby Dernier does not get the pitch in the count 0-2 very quickly.
You know, I think the old take me out to the ball game is really something nice. I guess you could say that Harry Carey brought it back when he went over to the White Sox.
That's
It's
exactly
really
right.
nice to see the fans participate in that, and there's nothing like it when you're here to see it in person.
And these Cubs fans, I'll tell you, they enjoy it as Dernier goes down on strike. So Booker retires the first man that he faces here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and that'll bring on Ryan Sandberg, who is 2 for 3.
That's the first time they've got Bobby Dernier out today.
That's exactly right.
Home run, a couple of walks, and a double.
And has scored 3 times, has an RBI. But Greg Booker, he's a 6'6", 233-pounder.
He started Sunday's ball game. The last ball game of the season for the Padres was 5 or 6 innings. I was wondering if Dick Williams was expecting to have to use him today.
Sandberg goes through the pitch in the count 1-1. Well, when he signed with the Padres, he was selected as a first baseman. And he has made the transition.
Showing us some pretty good stuff. Scouting report has a fastball that sinks. Slider's fair. The change is a park ball. That's split-fingered fastball.
Pops him up left side. Templeton still drifting back, makes the catch.
Drifting on that ball, the wind is still a factor.
Yes, sir. So there's 2 gone. A reminder, the National League Championship Series, it's an ABC Sports exclusive, is being brought to you by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Here's Henry Cotto. He's at bat for the first time this afternoon, taking over for Gary Matthews. See, Cotto at 274 on the year, 8 RBIs, but he has played some great baseball for these Cubs this year.
Outstanding defensive ball player.
Two balls and no strikes to count. 2 balls and a strike to Cotto with Leon Durham on deck. There's one of those swings, look to left, swing to center, and hit it to right.
Well,
Duck in the dugout.
Booker looks impressive. He threw that ball easy and it got up there in a hurry.
Whoops, something happened out in right field. And
Again, I think it's a little tough to see. Uh-oh.
That's a little unnecessary right there.
I agree.
Somebody can get hurt, and that is certainly uncalled for.
That's not part of the fun at the old ballpark.
No, sir. And if he went back and had Mr. Bill Veck again, he would say that is definitely a no-no.
You know, when you have a town like Chicago with a great ballpark and the great fans that they have and all the fans they have across the country, that's not good for the fans. They're better than that. They've got more class than that.
Yes, they have. Tony Gwynn will try and move that out as quickly as he can.
He's certainly not getting any help from anyone.
Bouncer to the hole, and that'll be a base hit left field. Templeton would not have been able to make a play on Cotto anyway. He has excellent speed.
Is there anybody in the lineup who was not invited to the party?
I was going to say, and he joins the party as well.
He sure does.
Everybody's got a base hit.
I was going to ask both of you fellas this question a couple of innings ago, and I'm going to ask you this now. If you're in a game like this, if you're going to lose, say when it's all over and said and done, would you rather lose a 2-1 ball game or just have something like this? If it's going to happen and it's in the book, get blown out like this, what would you do?
Well, my words would be the same. When I walked in the clubhouse, I'd say all we wanted was 1 out of 2. Today was their day. Tomorrow's our day.
Perfect. Reggie?
I think it would make a difference if the San Diego Ball Club was a young ball club. But you have players like Steve Garvey, like Gossage, like Greg Nettles, like Mr. Kennedy, Terry Kennedy. You're not going to scare these people. They know a loss is a loss. It doesn't matter. Tomorrow can be a victory, whether you win 1-0 or 10-0.
High chopper, and Wiggins will have to hurry as Durham can run, and they just do get him. So the Cubs are gone in the 7th inning. No runs on a hit, no errors, and they leave a man aboard. So you see right there, we're through 7, and it is 13-0. The Cubs on top. We'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local station.
Series takes off when 84's best. The Detroit Tigers scrap it out with the slugging Kansas City Royals. Live starting at 8 Eastern on ABC.
Well, they say unbustable, as the Cubs have certainly really brought out the big lumber here this afternoon. The new catcher, Steve Lake, will move in behind the plate and take over for Jody Davis. And the new pitcher, the veteran right-hander Warren Brewstar. He's had championship playoff experience before with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Another Philadelphia Philly.
They've got a few. As Tony Gwynn will lead it off.
8 Philadelphia ex-Phillies, as a matter of fact.
You see Gwynn 0 for 3 this afternoon. That's hit hard again to Dernier, but he will plug the gap once again to make the catch. That man has moved around very nicely, thank you, in center field for the Cubs this afternoon.
Take a look at Tony Gwynn. He has hit the ball on the button 3 out of 4 times. I mean, line drives hardly.
Line to second in the first, line to second in the fourth, pop to short in the 5th, and line now hard to Dernier in center in the 8th.
One thing for sure, they won't keep going at people if you keep hitting them hard.
Here's Steve Garvey, takes high. Garvey 1 for 3 this afternoon, a bunt single in the 4th inning. That was the inning that the Padres had the shot. They had the bases loaded and 2 outs, and Carmelo Martinez lined to right, and Keith Moreland made a fine diving catch. That's a base hit center field, so Garvey picks up his 2nd hit of the afternoon. That is just the 3rd Padre hit.
Always funny how guys that hit, their ground balls are singles, and guys that don't hit, their ground balls are out.
Well, that will bring on Greg Nettles, who has struck out. He's fried to center twice.
Not a lot of strategy in this game.
Well, right here, you've got Durham playing behind. What do you think? You give Garvey the green light?
He better not go anywhere.
I definitely would not.
Jamsey breaks his bat. That's going to drop to center field for the base hit. Moving on to 3rd is Garvey as Dernier gets it back in. So the Padres have runners at the corners at 1st and 3rd here in the top of the 8th inning. There's 1 out, and it'll bring on the catcher, Terry Kennedy. Hit number 4 for the Padres.
We see how the Padres react now that Mr. Sutcliffe is out of the ball game.
Well, there's one thing I know. If I'm in the dugout, I would have made the move. I would have taken Sutcliffe out so that I'd have him ready for the 4th game if I had to have him. But also I'd be in there saying, come on, Brewstar, let's get somebody out and don't get me second guessed.
That jams him. That ought to do it. Sandberg to Boa. They double him up with ease. And the Padres are gone in the 8th. No runs on a pair of hits. No errors. They leave a man aboard. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning with the Cubs winning it 13-0. There's some happy fans. They're saying we're number 1, and indeed they probably are for today, but there's still a long way to go, as we've talked for so long right up here this afternoon, as Keith Moreland will lead it off. He'll be followed by Ron Say. And it looks as though Gary Woods will come out and hit for Keith Moreland. Well, we've talked about vantage points as far as Wrigley Field is concerned, and of course out in deep right field, a lot of us who have read the papers, you see out there's a building that says 495 behind the right field stand, where the landlord was going to rent the rooftop for postseason games. It's a business group, but 2 tenants who usually watch from the roof, they sued the landlord. And there was a settlement as Woods takes the first pitch, 1-0. The tenants from the first floor were allowed 5 people on the roof. From the second floor, 15. From the third floor, 20, and the owner had 20. Said Circuit Judge Joseph Wasick, quote, "You have shown yourself to be gentlemen plus Americans."
So it was an in-court settlement, not an out-of-court settlement.
That was it. Bouncer foul, and the count 1-2 to Gary Woods. Well, I think that's nice that they got together.
That's what they call the People's Court?
That's it. That'll be on there. Now, Gary Woods down on strikes.
Well, now, one of the questions that Dick Williams is going to get after the ball game, because of the circumstances and the way things turned out, why did you use Harris before you used Booker?
That's right.
That's a second guess.
Yeah.
But it's a question I feel, the media has to ask. Why did he use Harris before he used Booker?
And I think if I was Dick Williams, I said, well, how did I know that Harris wasn't going to get him out?
That's the only answer.
Here's what I'd say.
That's after the fact again, and managers get so many of those questions after the game.
I don't think it would have mattered anyway, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Not the way things went today.
You just leave Sutcliffe in the game a little bit longer.
Ron Say sends a fly ball to center field. McReynolds going back and runs it down. There's 2 gone. This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. 2 outs, and the catcher, Steve Lake, will come on. Lake taking over for Jody Davis, who was 2 for 4 this afternoon with a run score. See the numbers on Steve at 222, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. Out of play. Just nice to see this young man back in uniform. He had a bout with hepatitis during the course of the year. He has overcome that, and he is back and in the championship series. And gets a base hit down the left field line, and for maybe more, it will go to the wall. Martinez playing it off the wall, picking up the carom. Lake to second base for the double. So the second hit off of Greg Booker.
Real good swing by Steve Lake. Breaking ball over the center part of the plate, out in front, hit it hard down the left field line.
I don't think we've seen too many bat swings by the Chicago Cubs today.
Only those broken bats that kept falling in for hits. The bad swings were even hits today for the Cubs.
Well, Larry Bowa, last time up, he hit one like he had a fishing net on the end of it. Just kind of hit it by the pitcher and almost stopped on the grass, and Templeton tried to make the barehanded throw. It was a base hit, an error on Templeton. Bowa went to second. Davis scored. That's the 16th hit for the Cubs, another championship series record. National League record, I should make that point. 2 outs, Lake at second base. And Bowa takes a strike in the count. 2-1. Right now, you really haven't known haven't seen, I should say, the inquisitive looks back at home plate umpire Dick Cavanaugh with the game the way it's going right now.
Game is out of reach right now, apparently. And it's really not going to make much difference between a ball and a strike.
Nope, and that is a ball. And Bowa walks. And that'll bring on the pitcher, Warren Broussard. One ball and no strikes. Well, Earl, to go along with your thoughts about Sutcliffe and the thoughts of Jimmy Fry, while Sutcliffe was in there, he threw 108 pitches.
That's not too many pitches. He could come back on 3 days rest.
Bouncer takes Nettles right to the bag, steps on third, and the side retired. So the Cubs are gone. No runs on a hit, no errors, and they leave a pair. That's the story through 8 complete, 13-0. The Cubs on top.
Well, we have the first lady of the San Diego Padres, Mrs. Joan Kroc, the owner of the Padres, and I guess you have learned enough about the game to realize that you can only lose one at a time, right?
That's right. I know that we lost today, and I think it was about the 6th inning that I donned a Cubs cap. And someone said, is that a concession? And I said, yes, it is, for today.
For today, back at them tomorrow.
Better believe it.
And we'll go back to the booth with Don Drysdale, Reggie Jackson, and Earl Weaver.
Thank you very much, Timmy, and indeed, the First Lady of the San Diego Padres, a lovely lady, and a loss, of course, to the Padres, to baseball, with the passing of Ray Kroc, and now how we would have loved to have seen his ball club in the championship series. And they've dedicated this year to Ray.
That's what the RAK for. That's for on the left-hand sleeve.
Here is Kevin McReynolds as he takes his strike. Tom Verizor is the new third baseman for the Cubs, taking over for Ron Say. So you have your infield of Verizon, Boa on the left side, Sandberg and Durham still on the right side. There's Verizor, and Gary Woods moves into right field, so your outfield now of Cotto in left, Dernier in center, and Woods in right. That hurts.
Good work by Tim McCarver. You can only lose them one at a time, no matter what the score is.
That's it.
Sure.
That's it. You know, if they're going to get 13, may as well get 25. Get them all out of your system today, maybe.
This hurts. If we take a look at it again, Kevin McReynolds fouling that ball right down, right on the inside of his ankle. I've seen a lot of ball players do that. They wear a little shin guard once in a while to protect them from it.
All right. I don't know what it is. It seems, maybe I've just noticed it more. It seems like you see more guys doing that today than ever before.
Yeah.
Foul right side. Watch that breeze. It's blowing it back, and that ball is just out of play. Boy, that'll give you an idea what that wind will do.
Yeah, Durham didn't even go over to the dugout. He
Not at all.
It was long gone.
Well, he's been playing here a couple of years. Maybe he knows the stadium that well.
If he does, I won't go to the track with him. Boy, the wind conditions, they are unbelievable here in Chicago, in both ballparks. And again, it's to the right side. Now watch the breeze here. There's Woods moving over, now moving back and makes the catch.
And somebody asked me why I didn't sign with the Cubs.
That's why right there. What a thrill it must be for a manager to come out here each day and watch everybody circle around under those top flies.
You know, a lot of people always thought, and they read a lot of stories about this ballpark, that the wind always blew out. Well, indeed, that doesn't. That is a fallacy. Cubs PR assistant Ned Galletti, he keeps wind threads for home games. And this is what he has come up with as Martinez takes a strike. This year, he says the wind blew in 31 games. It blew out 29, and 19 you had a crosswind.
All right. All right. A wind stat.
That's it.
First of that I've heard.
So the count 0-2. Reminder, our executive producer of ABC Sports is Roone Arledge. Coverage of today's game was produced by Dennis Lewin, directed by Ken Pounce, technical director Mike Blazo, associate director Jimmy Roberts. There is just out of the reach of Larry Boa. So Martinez is aboard. And don't forget, the American League playoffs will be coming your way tonight from Royal Stadium in Kansas City, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Our unit manager, of course, is Jonathan Leach, and the assistant to the producer, Amy Smolens, our researcher, and our thanks to Jerry Klein and statistician Peter Hurt. Thank you, gentlemen, and all of you. The crew has had some workout in day one, I'll say that. There's another little fister into center field. That's going to drop. So Templeton, he's aboard as Martinez moves to second.
I could go for a little fireworks here, a little excitement, put a few runs up on the board, and just kind of enjoy it a little bit.
How long would it take them to get 13 runs?
I don't know, but I bet you if they score 3 or 4 runs, we get to see Jimmy Fry take that hat off and rub his hair a little bit.
Well, there's one out, and there's
Doesn't look like he's fooling around, does it?
Not at all.
Smith up.
He's going to put any fire out as soon as he sees a spark. Lee Smith out there, the big man, the ace out of the Cub bullpen.
I read earlier this year when I was in Oakland, they had Lee Smith clocked in San Francisco at 101 miles an hour.
Wow. Champ Summers coming on to pinch hit. Summers, strong left-hand hitter. Takes high, want to know the count.
Brewster had 2 men on base last inning. Got out of it 4 to 6, 6 to 3.
The ball was hit hard, though, Earl.
There's a little looper as Sandberg will make the catch. Back to second, not in time. So there's 2 gone. And that'll bring the top of the order, and it'll bring the fans to their feet.
They need one.
Here's Alan Wiggins. He's 0 for 4 this afternoon. And there's the strike. The Padres scratching out just 6 hits this afternoon. A little looper, Larry Bowa calling, and that ought to do it. Makes the catch in the side, retired, and game number 1 is in the books. For the Padres in the 9th inning, no runs on 2 hits, no errors. They leave a pair. And the final score in game number 1, the Chicago Cubs 13, the San Diego Padres nothing. Look at that. They are geared and ready to go tomorrow.
Not one fan left the ballpark.
They don't do it here, Earl. They stay right to the bitter end. This year, though, they've had a lot of sweet endings. Ernie Banks down in the dugout. Mr. Cub himself. So the Cubs, they win game number 1, 13-0, and we'll be back after this message and a word from our local station.
Mrs. Robin Sutcliffe, did you ever think at the beginning of this year that you would start out in Cleveland and end up in Chicago with a victory on the opening day of the playoffs?
No, see, on June 13th, we were 23 games out of first place, and on June 14th, we were in first place. So we made up that much in one day.
You picked up 30 games in one day.
Yep.
And do you like it here in Chicago?
We love it. This is a great day for the Chicago baseball fans.
Robin Sutcliffe, the wife of winning pitcher Rick Sutcliffe. We'll be back in Chicago right after this word. With his 4th home run in as many games, continuing over last year, Gary Matthews, he wasn't satisfied with that, but he had to come out and hit another dinger, a 3-run shot in the 5th. Gary, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And being interviewed by an ex-Philly, it always makes it that much sweeter. But I'll tell you, just coming here, and I think Bob and me are setting the stage for us early in the ball game. It made it that much better. The wind was really blowing out hard just about all day. And when we're swinging the bats good, I tell you, we're tough ball team to beat.
With that previous comment, does that mean that there is still lingering bitterness as far as the Philadelphia Phillies are concerned?
No, of course not. I love the people in Philly, and I have a lot of friends, and I think they respect me as a ball player as I do them, and it's just one of those unfortunate things, as you know, in baseball, that it's not always because of your ability that you're not wanted on the ball club. And you have so many so-called super scouts that know the talent, but if they could read into a ball player's heart, they would be able to tell the individual as far as how they perform on the ball field.
It was unfortunate for the Chicago Cubs, or unfortunate for the Philadelphia Phillies, but fortunate for the Chicago Cubs. And we have another guy. Come here, Rick. Has Gary Matthews been working on your hitting with you? Nice hitting.
You know, they've said it many times before. It's not how you pitch, it's when you pitch. And we scored a lot of runs today, and Keith Moreland really made the play of the ball game. You know, we tend to expect these things of Sarge. He's been doing it all year, so why should he change now?
And, of course, Keith Moreland is a very much improved right fielder, too.
No question. Actually, I really think that was the key of the ball game with Keith catching that ball. If it had got by him, it might have been 3 runs. But he's been making those all year, you know, and I think he has a lot of pride when he goes out there. He knows he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he gets all that he has out of his ability, and I tell you, he's had an important part with us winning here at the National League East so far.
Gary Matthews with 2 home runs today. Rick Sutcliffe striking out 8 and pitching a shutout as the Cubs win 13-0. We'll be back in Chicago right after these words.